Chapter 51-58. There was no need to doubt Quang Heng's power. There was no need to mention how terrifying a cosmic cloud state was. With such a powerful force, the three of them were no match for him at all. A powerful pressure loomed over everyone's head. Although Qianlu was extremely worried, there was nothing she could do at this moment. If this continued, it would only make their situation more difficult. If Brother Jiang Chen had given him the water leaf treasure book, perhaps this situation wouldn't have happened. However, it was too late to say anything now. The Ink Feather Sword sect was a terrifying existence. Back then, it had been expelled from Tianqian Star because it had killed too many people. Now it had made a comeback and risked its life. If it wasn't for the water chestnut treasure book, it probably wouldn't have appeared here. It was useless to say anything now. Quang Heng's counterattack made everyone's scalp tingle. Jiang Chen felt the same, but he never regretted it. After all, he didn't expect this battle at all. The three of them fought for a long time and their situation was getting worse. No one knew what would happen in the end, but at least the Black King and the six-spine coiling dragon were connected to Jiang Chen's life. If he was in danger, the Black King and the six-spine coiling dragon wouldn't be able to escape death. "Hold him back, I'll set up the formation," Jiang Chen said. At this moment, it was difficult for them to move forward. They could only find a way to survive in the cracks. It was unknown whether they could guarantee their survival, but he had no other choice. "Yes, Master." The Black King and the six-spine coiling dragon were both risking their lives to charge forward. They were unstoppable and faced Quang Heng head-on. Although they knew they couldn't win, they had to buy time for their master. Jiang Chen retreated in order to advance. He began to set up the formation. This time, with the Shura sword formation, Jiang Chen didn't know to what extent he could unleash it. However, he could only try it as a last resort now. The current Heavenly Dragon Sword was no longer the same Heavenly Dragon Sword as before. Moreover, not only did Jiang Chen recast the Heavenly Dragon Sword, he even forged the 36 Divine Swords into peak 8th level Divine Weapons. With the peak 9th level Divine Weapon Heavenly Dragon Sword, the result would probably be different. However, Jiang Chen didn't dare to be careless. After all, the opponent was a cosmic cloud state. He didn't have the slightest confidence. He would be satisfied if he could force the opponent back. Their current goal was not to kill Quang Heng but to escape from him. That was the most important thing. A bunch of ants. Even the light of a grain of rice dares to compete with the brilliance of the moon. Your doomsday is coming. Today none of you will be able to escape. Quang Heng sneered. His momentum was unstoppable. No one could compete with him. Jiang Chen was extremely shocked by his domineering aura. A cosmic cloud state was indeed extraordinary. This kind of power was enough to dominate the world. This Quang Heng was too difficult to deal with. Jiang Chen didn't dare to be careless. The six-spine coiling dragon and the Black King had already used everything they had. Despite so, they still couldn't stop Quang Heng's momentum. Their injuries were getting more and more serious, and their footsteps were getting heavier. Every step meant that their injuries were getting worse. It meant that their situation was getting worse. And Jiang Chen was their only hope. Jiang Chen didn't have any distractions in his mind. Although he was shocked, he didn't panic. He didn't have any other choice. This guy had targeted him and he could only blame it on his bad luck. Even the star-picking palm couldn't do anything to him, it could only force him to retreat. However, Jiang Chen's strength was obviously not enough to completely overwhelm his opponent. Instead, he was continuously attacked by his opponent, and his chances of winning were low. Jiang Chen's means weren't weak, but under absolute power, there was nothing fancy about it. Jiang Chen was furious. If he was a half-step cosmic cloud state, perhaps defeating Quang Heng wouldn't be a problem. However, how could it be that easy to break through to the cosmic cloud state? Half-step cosmic cloud state was a mountain waiting for him to climb. Jiang Chen had never thought of himself as the son of destiny. His strength was closely related to his hard work. The heavenly Tao rewarded the diligent. This was Jiang Chen's true method. However, the cosmic cloud state was too difficult. Even though the Qin family worked hard for 100,000 years, the result was the same. The Qin family's ancestor was still stuck at the peak of the 9th level of the star state. In order to break through, not only did he need opportunities, but he also needed exceptional conditions. Jiang Chen definitely couldn't break through to the half-step cosmic cloud state in a short period of time. He just reached the 9th level of the star state. His power had just stabilized, so it would be extremely difficult to break through again. This was their last chance and they could only fight to the death. Currently, Jiang Chen's speed of setting up the formation was extremely fast. In just 10 breaths of time he had finished setting up the formation. However, at the same time, the six-spine coiling dragon had been repelled and its body was covered with injuries. It had blocked Xuanhuan's attack 3 times, causing him to be covered with cuts and bruises. The Black King was fine, but his power was weaker than the six-spine coiling dragon. He was forced back again and again. This was the first time they encountered such an opponent. The Black King knew how insane a cosmic cloud state was. He could only place everyone's hopes on his master. Activate! Jianghu roared. The Azura sword formation rose with the wind, instantly draining more than half of Jianghu's Genesis Chi. Endless sword shadows began to gather. The familiar smell appeared again, but this time the Azura sword formation was much stronger than before. It was because of this that Jianghu placed his hopes on it. He hoped that the Azura sword formation could trap Xuanhuan. That way he would have a chance to rush out. Not bad, this sword formation is indeed quite interesting. Xuanhuan frowned. His expression was rather solemn. The Azura sword formation was clearly troublesome for him, but for Xuanhuan, it was only troublesome. It would be far from as easy as he imagined to trap him. Qinlu clenched her fists. Her heart was pounding. Brother Jianghu might have endless means, but for Xuanhuan, one move was enough to force him into such a sorry state. This was the stance of a powerhouse, sweeping everything before them with their sabers. Unparalleled overlord sword. The sword chi in Xuanhuan's hand swept across the sky, causing the surrounding space to ripple. Jianghu continued to control the Azura sword formation, but the vibrations within the formation grew more and more intense. Xuanhuan was also a sword expert. Sword light wreaked havoc, changing the color of the sky and earth. He constantly clashed with the Azura sword formation, each strike stronger than the last. Master, what should we do now? Chapter 51-59. The six-spine coiling dragon wasn't much better. However, its body was stronger and its recovery speed was astonishing. Despite so, it was already in a precarious situation. Go. Let's go. Jianghu said in a deep voice. He was afraid that something bad might happen if he delayed any longer. The only thing he could think of now was to leave this place as soon as possible. Jianghu pulled Qinlu and quickly retreated. However, there was a cold breeze behind them. You want to leave? You probably don't have that luck. Your sword formation is great, but in the face of absolute power, all means are useless. You are very strong, but I'm a cosmic cloud state. In my hands, you're just a piece of cake. Don't try to challenge my bottom line. You're not worthy. Xuanhuan roared and pierced the sky with his sword. The Shura sword formation was broken. Jianghu's face was getting worse. Am I really going to die here today? One thought heaven. Jianghu used the spirit will chant, and the terrifying power of the planet shrouded Xuanhuan's head. Xuanhuan furrowed his brows, but it was obvious that he was pushed back. Jianghu seized the opportunity and left the heavenly star. A few seconds later, Xuanhuan regained his consciousness. His eyes were filled with fury. Damn it. Let's see where you can run to. Xuanhuan's speed was shocking. In just a few breaths he caught up to Jianghu. A cosmic cloud state had too many things that Jianghu couldn't compare to. Even with the sky ascension stairway, Jianghu couldn't compare to them. Below the cosmic cloud state, Jianghu's speed might be invincible, but after reaching the cosmic cloud state, his speed would change. He could travel 10,000 miles in an instant. Jianghu wanted to use the Xuanhuan god boat, but it was too late. Xuanhuan had caught up. You really don't understand the speed of a cosmic cloud state. Cosmic warp isn't enough to describe it. My speed isn't something you can match. Otherwise, how do you think cosmic cloud states can travel between countless cosmic cloud realms? Xuanhuan was like a god, standing proudly in front of Jianghu and the others. In the starry sky of the universe, there were countless stars shining brightly, there was no end to it. However, the sky made them unable to hide. Brother Jianghu, I'm afraid we won't be able to leave. Qinlu murmured. You're really haunting me. Jianghu gritted his teeth and said, but he was really helpless now. The suppression of strength was the most important reason. Even if Jianghu had 1,000 tricks up his sleeves, he could only be restrained now. Jianghu deeply felt that his own strength was insufficient. In the eternal world, where experts were as numerous as the clouds, you never knew what kind of opponent you would run into next. The power of my astral souls can lend you a helping hand. But whether or not you can force him to retreat would depend on your own capabilities. Sumoer's voice sounded in Jianghu's mind. In the Buddha prison palace, Sumoer stood under the golden cassia tree and said with a solemn voice. Jianghu and her were interdependent. If Jianghu died, she would never be able to appear in this world again. Su Moer had just recovered some astral soul power. This was their last hope. Jiang Chen's eyes lit up and said in a deep voice, "The power of my astral souls is too tyrannical. You have to endure it no matter what. If you can't endure it or if you are unable to withstand the power of my astral souls, only death awaits you." Su Moer was worried. "I can't care that much now. I can only take the risk." Jiang Chen sucked in a deep breath and prepared himself for anything. "Come on." As soon as Jiang Chen finished speaking, he felt as though a mountain was pressing down on his shoulders. In his mind, a soul storm was raging as though it wanted to tear his soul apart. "I can only lend my astral soul power to you temporarily. Jiang Chen, take care of yourself." Su Moer's beautiful eyes flickered. This time she had bet everything. If Jiang Chen lost, she would vanish into thin air. They had no other way. This was their only chance. "Ark!" Jiang Chen roared. His voice was like thunder piercing through the universe. "Do you still want to struggle pointlessly? I'd like to see how you're going to escape from me." Xuanhuan was incomparably confident. In his eyes, Jiang Chen was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Even if he struggled, he wouldn't be able to change his fate. Jiang Chen didn't expect that Su Moer's astral soul power would be so strong that it could completely suppress him. Moreover, she was a quasi-emperor in the past. Although that was a matter of the previous era, it didn't change how strong she was. Although her soul power hadn't recovered much, it was enough to make Jiang Chen suffer. Jiang Chen felt that it would be extremely difficult to suppress Su Moer's astral soul power. It was even harder than fighting against Xuanhuan. Endless pain tormented Jiang Chen. Su Moer's astral soul power was like a sharp knife, piercing into his mind. Jiang Chen had no way to hide. "Damn it, seems like I'm really going to be glorious this time." Jiang Chen roared in anger, struggling in his heart. The spiritual storm in his sea of consciousness was struggling even more, merging and controlling two different astral souls. Jiang Chen's strength was still too low. He hadn't even reached the cosmic cloud realm. This was the biggest drawback. Jiang Chen's willpower was very strong, but this didn't mean that he could withstand the terrifying astral soul power of Su Moer. The two of them were originally incompatible. Although Su Moer didn't resist, lending him the astral soul power was a heaven-defying act. However, Jiang Chen was never someone who would give up easily. His heart and soul had always been fighting. Finally, what Jiang Chen didn't expect was that at this moment, the leaves of cinnamomum cassia flew and enveloped Jiang Chen's head. Countless golden cassia leaves formed a huge shadow, tightly wrapping Jiang Chen within it. Jiang Chen felt his soul sublimate in an instant, and the astral soul power of Su Moer was easily absorbed by him. Countless golden cassia leaves surrounded Jiang Chen, emitting a golden glow. It was as though he was holy. Jiang Chen was indescribably surprised. Even Xuanhuan, who was at the side, had a bad premonition as he frowned. "What the hell is this fellow doing?" The appearance of these golden cassia leaves caused Xuanhuan to feel extremely uneasy. Could it be that this fellow really had a trump card? Just as Xuanhuan was thinking about it, a violent tornado appeared in the sky. Jiang Chen stood on top of the tornado, and the golden cassia leaves wrapped around Jiang Chen's body. What a strange feeling. Chapter 5160. However, Jiang Chen knew that this was only temporary. Su Moer had lent it to him. Even so, Jiang Chen still felt a domineering desire to compete with the heavens. Even if he was facing Xuanhuan, he still wanted to win in one battle. Cinnamomum cassia is indeed an existence that even the heavenly emperor treasures. Jiang Chen's heart was in turmoil. At this time it was time to determine the winner. If I don't enter hell, who will? Divine will art hell with a single thought. Jiang Chen's expression was solemn and calm. Suddenly he opened his eyes. The boundless power of the astral soul spread out like an unstoppable tide. "No, this is impossible." Xuanhuan's expression changed. He quickly retreated, but how could his speed be faster than the expansion of the astral soul? Xuanhuan's pupils constricted and his face turned pale. His mind felt like it was being torn apart. His soul was in extreme pain. Instantly he defended and defended his mind. This was Xuanhuan's subconscious preparation because he could already feel the suffocating aura of death. No one could stay out of it. Xuanhuan knew that Jiang Chen was like a devil at this moment, like the master of hell. The aura of death was spreading across the heavens and earth. The surrounding void was locked down by Jiang Chen. Xuanhuan's heart trembled. Since when did Jiang Chen become so powerful? Wasn't this too terrifying? Was this still Jiang Chen? A moment ago he was still full of confidence, but now he was forced to retreat by Jiang Chen. The surging pressure made Quang Heng's heart feel like it was being stabbed by a knife. He couldn't believe it. However, the truth was in front of him. His soul had nowhere to hide. Jiang Chen's eyes were like the eyes of the Grim Reaper. The power of the astral soul could kill without mercy. Fortunately, Quang Heng's strength was strong enough. Moreover, he had already broken through the power of the astral soul. Under his constant retreat, Quang Heng managed to block the attack of Jiang Chen's astral soul. Pooh! Quang Heng spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment he had completely lost his previous elegance. He retreated like a stray dog, his eyes filled with terror. Just a moment ago he had been insufferably arrogant. But now he had been reduced to such a sorry state. Chen Lu even blinked her eyes in complete disbelief. Jiang Chen's attack was something even a cosmic cloud state couldn't defend against. Quang Heng was scared out of his wits. He had no choice but to flee. Jiang Chen, sooner or later I will seek revenge on you. I will not rest until you die. Quang Heng's roar echoed in the sky. His figure had already disappeared from the starry sky. From his roar, it could be confirmed that he was heavily injured and had already fled. Right now he was like a stray dog disappearing without a trace. The Black King and the six-spined coiling dragon glanced at each other. They couldn't hide their joy. Their master was too strong. At the crucial moment he actually repelled a cosmic cloud state like Quang Heng. This was unbelievable. However, in an instant Jiang Chen also fell down. He became extremely weak. His chi was completely gone. Chen Lu quickly caught brother Jiang Chen's figure. Otherwise he would have fallen into the endless abyss in space. Right now they had already left Tianqin's star and were floating in the starry sky. In the endless starry sky, below them was an endless abyss. No one knew how deep the abyss was, but once they fell into it they would never be able to come back alive. Jiang Chen's body was also heavily injured because Sumo's astral soul power was too powerful. He risked everything to carry her astral soul power and barely used the spirit will chant to force Quang Heng to retreat. If Quang Heng could continue, Jiang Chen didn't even know who would survive in the end. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly and shook his head in Chen Lu's arms. Looking at her heartbroken face, his tears were about to fall. Don't worry, I won't die yet. I'm just too heavily injured. Jiang Chen's voice was weak. Look at how you are. Stop talking. Chen Lu angrily hugged brother Jiang Chen tightly. Her heart was filled with complicated emotions. Jiang Chen rejoiced. If it wasn't for Cinnamomum Cash's power, he might have been crushed by Sumo's astral soul power before he could even fight Quang Heng. We can't stay here for long. If Quang Heng makes a comeback we'll be finished. Don't cry. Let's go to the Kuewood planet now. Jiang Chen struggled to stand up. His eyes were solemn and serious. The road ahead was long and rainy. He couldn't stop because there were still countless people waiting for him. Thank you. Jiang Chen said to Suemo, who was in the Buddha prison palace. Suemo was very weak now. He had borrowed the power of her astral soul and had already recovered a lot. Now her situation had worsened. If you die, I won't be able to survive either. I still have to count on you to save me. Some more chuckled. Alright, I might have to fall into a deep slumber again. I might not wake up in a short period of time. You're on your own. Goodbye. After saying that, Suemo Air fell into a deep sleep. Just like a sleeping beauty, he fell asleep under the osmanthus tree. Jiang Chen nodded. It seemed he had to hurry to the Kuewood planet. If Quang Heng didn't stop him, perhaps he would be there soon. The Tianqin planet was definitely not safe, but he would still go back. Right now, it was more important to go to the Kuewood planet with the Green Light Race's Azure Monkey. Jiang Chen guessed that there would be the astral power he had been dreaming of there. If he could get another star core, then breaking through to the half-step cosmic cloud state or even the cosmic cloud state wouldn't be a problem. His breakthrough was much stronger than most people's, and this was all thanks to the stellar astral. Without the stellar astral, it would be impossible for Jiang Chen's cultivation base to increase again. Therefore, the energy of the stellar astral was his ultimate goal. Since Senior Longfooted chose him, he definitely wouldn't disappoint him. Only by becoming stronger could he have a foothold in the eternal world. He believed that Feng Air wouldn't be far from him. Black King, Coiling Dragon, both of you have suffered severe injuries. Hurry up and take a good rest. Leave the rest to me. This time it's all thanks to you too. Jiang Chen nodded. Master, you're too kind. For Master, the Black King will do his best until death. Coiling Dragon understands. It seems my choice was right. From now on, Coiling Dragon is willing to follow Master wholeheartedly for thousands of generations. The six-spined Coiling Dragon said. Before this, he was just trying to see if Jiang Chen would be able to defeat Jiang Chen. After going through so many battles, he felt that Jiang Chen was like an incomparably mysterious peerless expert. Jiang Chen was always able to surpass his imagination. From now on he would never leave Jiang Chen's side. Okay, you two go rest. It's time to go to the Kuei-wood planet. Azure Monkey, lead the way. Chapter 5161. In the Buddha prison palace, Jiang Chen was constantly recovering his power. This battle consumed too much of his energy, but at the same time he gained a lot. It was unimaginable that he could survive against a cosmic cloud state. Jiang Chen was already prepared to die. After all, the opponent was too powerful. It was pure luck that he could survive. Jiang Chen's power had completely stabilized at the level 9 star state and was gradually increasing. However, he was still far from reaching the half-step cosmic cloud state. If he didn't have some great fortune, perhaps Jiang Chen would need at least a few thousand years or even tens of thousands of years to reach the half-step cosmic cloud state. No one knew where the final destination of cultivation was. Keep cultivating, keep improving yourself, keep changing yourself, and keep improving yourself. This was Jiang Chen's truest thought. Only when he became stronger would he be able to sweep across the universe and find his son. The strong preyed on the weak. This was the law of survival since ancient times. After this battle, he was even more clear on what strength meant. Without strength, you could only be a stepping stone for others. You could only become a vassal of others. Jiang Chen focused on recovering his power. Time flowed very slowly in the Buddha prison palace. Jiang Chen had been cultivating for a few months, but only a few days had passed in the outside world. Master, we've arrived at planet Kuei-mu. Di Luo's voice appeared next to Jiang Chen's ears. Jiang Chen slowly opened his eyes. They were finally here. Brother Jiang Chen, have we arrived at planet Kuei-mu? Chen Lu blinked her eyes and asked. We're here. Jiang Chen said with a smile. When the two of them appeared outside the Xuanhuan divine boat, they were shocked by the scene in front of them. This place was too beautiful. It was so beautiful that it was suffocating, so beautiful that it was hard to imagine. It was like a graceful swan in the sky, and after seeing it, one would be unable to extricate themselves from it. Jiang Chen stood at the bow of the Zhanglang divine continent ship and looked up. There was a boundless sea of stars surrounding the Kuei-wood star. Looking from afar, the Kuei-wood star was surrounded by some asteroids. The dark universe was filled with twinkling stars. The radiance of the stars was shining in the night sky. The depths of the universe became deeper and more mysterious. No one knew what kind of existence existed in the depths of the universe, and no one knew what it was like between the heavens and the earth. There seemed to be some kind of connection between all things in the universe, and it also seemed like between the heavens and the earth, which made countless people feel powerless. Standing in this vast and boundless universe, Jiang Chen's heart was filled with turbulent waves. He was filled with shock and it made him feel refreshed. The galaxy belt was like a beam of light between the heaven and earth. It was boundless and unfathomable. Those colorful planets lingered around Kuei-mu star and constantly rotated, making Kuei-mu star the king of the stars. It was filled with a majestic and domineering feeling. What made Jiang Chen most amazed was that around Kuei-mu star, there was an extremely strong vortex. On the surface of the entire Kuei-mu star, it seemed to form a huge protective net. This layer of protective net wrapped the Kuei-mu star tightly, but it was also full of light. On the dark brown Kuei-mu star there was a huge gale vortex. Clouds and mist lingered, constantly hovering above the Kuei-mu star. The vortex stirred up the 9 heavens. Even standing outside the Kuei-mu star, Jiang Chen could see it clearly. This showed how big the vortex of the Kuei-mu star was. The size of Kuei-mu star seemed to be no less than Tianqian star, but the environment here was not suitable for human habitation. So there were very few people here. Not everyone could live on the Kuei-mu star. The huge vortex was like an eye, constantly flashing on the surface of the Kuei-mu star. It's so beautiful. Chen Lu couldn't help but sigh. She had never seen such a beautiful planet. Even Tianqian star was far inferior to it. It was because of its mystery and uniqueness that this planet stood out among the thousands of planets around it. Beautiful, right? This is my hometown. Isn't it beautiful? This is my hometown. No matter who sees it, they will be shocked because my hometown is too beautiful. Almost no other planet can compare to it. However, its environment is also very harsh. A long time ago, our Kuei Jupiter star wasn't like this. At that time, everything was full of vitality, grass was long and birds were flying, mountains and rivers were flowing endlessly. Unfortunately, because of the war countless years ago, the ecological environment of the Kuei Jupiter star was destroyed, causing the originally very comfortable Kuei Jupiter star to become riddled with holes. Although Kuei-wood planet still looks very beautiful from outside the planet, the true environment of Kuei-wood planet is rather harsh. It's almost uninhabitable. If it weren't for the fact that our Green-on tribe's resistance has always been very strong since young, we wouldn't have been able to live here for generations. Furthermore, our ancestor has left behind instructions that we must wait for our ancestor. Di Luo looked at Jiang Chen with anticipation. To him, Jiang Chen was like a savior. He was someone who came to bring luck to the Kuei-mu star. To think that a single battle could cause an entire planet to be riddled with holes. Just how strong is this person? Jiang Chen sighed in his heart. It seemed like he couldn't imagine that the peerless experts who were as powerful as the heavens and earth were the true rulers of this world. Even a cosmic cloud state like Xuanhuan couldn't destroy the Kuei-mu star in a single war. It seems that the Kuei-mu star really has an unknown secret. Qin Lu said in a low voice. After hundreds of millions of years, such a beautiful planet had actually been abandoned by everyone. If it wasn't for the fact that the current Kuei-wood planet was so barren and had lost too many resources, it wouldn't have fallen to such a state. That's right. There's a limit to one's strength. Even if our Green-on clan works hard, we can't change anything. Kuei-wood star is still in such a crisis. It's impossible for anyone below the star level to stay here. Even those at the peak of the star level are constantly facing the threat of death. Di Luo said solemnly. His eyes were filled with deep fear and helplessness. Let's go and have a look first. Jiang Chen waved his hand and the three of them entered the Kuei-wood star. As soon as they entered, Jiang Chen felt a terrifying wind attack. It was as though the void was being torn apart. The powerful wind was probably at the level of tearing apart a stellar state being. Chapter 5162. These wind blades are comparable to the power of a 7th-grade divine weapon. If one's body can't withstand it, it's very easy to be torn apart. Qin Lu said cautiously. That's right. These wind blades are enough to tear apart mountains and rocks. Many of the mountains are barren and flattened by these wind blades. Because the yuan-chi layer on the surface of the Kuei-wood star was destroyed countless years ago, it resulted in countless turbulence in the universe, wreaking havoc on the surface of the Kuei-wood star without the protection of the yuan-chi layer. The gravitational force of the Kuei-wood star has also become stronger and stronger. This is something that many people can't adapt to. Di Luo said in a low voice. No wonder. Jiang Chen nodded his head and said. At this moment, lightning flashed in the sky that was filled with dark clouds. The lightning was extremely bright and carried a terrifying force. Even a huge mountain top was split into two. The surrounding mountains were scorched black. The plants and trees on the mountains were instantly turned into ashes. The scene was horrifying and horrifying. This is already comparable to the full power attack of a 7th-level star realm expert. Is this common on the Kuei-wood star? Qin Lu's expression changed. Even she had to take a detour. This place was too dangerous. It made people feel fearful at all times. If they were not careful, wouldn't they turn into ashes? Di Luo's expression was filled with shock. If it was him, he would have been turned into ashes just now. In this land that was filled with danger, no one could stay out of it. This Kuei-wood star wasn't a place that anyone would be willing to come to. Even some weaker star realm wanderers wouldn't dare to come here recklessly. The outcome might be death. That's right. Otherwise, why do you think no one is willing to step on such a beautiful planet? Di Luo smiled bitterly. The environment here is too vile. To be able to survive here, one would need a lot of courage and strength. Jiang Chen said. Survival of the fittest. Those who could survive here were destined to be 1 in 10,000 experts. Stellar-class powerhouses already possessed the ability to wander the universe. However, the Green-on race had always been guarding this place. It was all for the sake of waiting for their ancestors to return and remove the seals and restrictions. The Green-on race was originally a very intelligent race. However, they had been pushed to the extreme and could never leave the Kuei-wood planet. If they left, they would definitely die within 1,000 years. But if they stayed here, even though it would be dangerous, they would be able to live for a long time. Furthermore, this was their hometown. Although there were many dangers here, the people who lived here were already used to it. Looking from afar, many places were barren and scorched black. Some places only had land left, but there were also very few places with oases. But as far as the eye could see, almost all of them were in the mountains and lakes, places that could avoid the lightning and wind. In this place, many of the plants were already like iron trees. Even in the face of the power of the wind, they could still stand tall. It was truly rare. This is the Santos Plate, the territory of the creeping spine earth dragon. It is also one of the 3 major races of the Kuei-wood planet. The creeping spine earth dragon is an earth dragon with super strong defense. It lives underground all year round, so it can easily avoid natural disasters that come from outside the earth. It is also one of the formidable enemies of the Greenon race. Di Luo said in a low voice, clearly rather fearful. Flying is a luxury for them, but it doesn't mean that they can't fly. Even if some people fly over their heads, the creeping spine earth dragon won't take the initiative to attack. However, it's hard to say if they encounter someone with a perverse temperament. Their strength isn't inferior to our Greenon race. 3 major races? What about the other race? Jianghu asked. The other race is the ice bear. They live under the glaciers all year round and aren't disturbed by the outside world. Therefore they can travel under the ice. 30% of the entire Kuei-wood planet is covered with water, so they are also very free. They have always maintained a neutral stance. Neither us nor the creek spine earth dragon could make them join in. However, the ice bear tribe is very cautious, and they are always on guard against everyone. That's why they rarely come into contact with us. Di Luo said with a serious expression. After the mountain range in front, we will reach the territory of the Greenon race. Di Luo was a little excited at the mention of the Greenon race. After all, he had not been back for a long time. After he left the Kuei-wood planet, he was captured by the interstellar wanderers. Therefore, returning to the Kuei-wood planet made him very excited. Finally, he was at his doorstep. He no longer had to worry about being hunted down. Let's go and take a look at your place first, Jianghu said. Just as the 3 of them were about to leap over the Santos plate, a dragon roar was heard all of a sudden. The roar was as loud as thunder, resounding in everyone's ears. The roar was too loud, resounding through the clouds. Jianghu couldn't help but frown. Di Luo, who was only at the 5th level of the star realm, clenched his teeth. His face was pale as he covered his ears tightly, his eyes wide open. Seems like some people don't welcome us, Jianghu said coldly. Then the ground started to crack. The ground within 10 li of the perimeter seemed to have been turned upside down. 2 slender giant beasts flew out from the ground and into the sky. They had huge bodies, huge dragon heads, and a single horn. They were slightly bloated, but they were definitely not fat. Their bodies were huge and terrifying. They stood with their heads held high. They were thousands of meters tall, covering the sun and the sky. Oh no, it's the creeping spine earth dragon. Di Luo shuddered, his expression ugly. These 2 fellas don't look simple, Chen Lu said. Someone is blocking our way, Di Luo said quietly, looking at Jianghu. Jianghu was now his pillar of support, the ancestor of his dreams, the ancestor that could bring hope to the Greenon race. Damned monkey, I didn't expect your people to dare come to our place. This time no one can save you. Prepare to die. A towering creeping spine earth dragon swayed his huge body, his 2 hind claws on the ground, his front claws like a gorilla, beating his chest, displaying his strength and ferocity. Elder Di Luo, the Greenon race has no feud with you. Why did you ambush us here? Chapter 5163. No enmity? What a joke. Your Greenon tribe has already killed 3 people from my D-Dragon tribe. What other explanation do you want? Today, I will use you as a sacrifice to the heavens to deal with our D-Dragon tribe. Your Greenon tribe is too insolent. If I don't teach you a lesson, do you really think that our Earth Dragon tribe has no one left? A bunch of rabble. I want to see where your Greenon tribe's confidence comes from. What right do you have to kill our Creek Ridge Earth Dragon? This Kuei-wood star hasn't reached the point where you can call the shots. Duo Luo said confidently, his heart filled with rage. Our Creek Ridge Earth Dragon tribe wasn't willing to start a fight. However, your Greenon tribe has gone too far. Hence, today's enmity must be avenged. Faced with Duo Luo's rage, Di Luo was at his wit's end. He could only place his hopes on his ancestor. Jianghu was also puzzled. It seemed like the Earth Dragon tribe and the Greenon tribe had quite a bit of enmity. Otherwise, how could they have been intercepted by them on the way? And from the looks of it, Di Luo still didn't know that the 2 tribes were already on bad terms. No matter what the relationship between the 2 tribes is, it has nothing to do with me. If you leave now, I can treat it as if nothing has happened, Jianghu said indifferently. After all, he was now a 9th level star level powerhouse. These 2 Earth Dragon tribe members couldn't possibly ignore his existence. Who do you think you are? You still want to save face from me? You really don't know your place. Our Earth Dragon tribe isn't something you can afford to offend. If you know what's good for you, scram now. We only want the life of this Greenon tribe member. If you insist on opposing us, don't blame us for being merciless, Duo Luo said coldly. His huge eyes were like a clear spring. His body was so huge that it covered the sun and sky. It made one's heart feel stifled. Chen Lu knew that the strength of these two Creek Ridge Earth Dragons wasn't something she could handle. It seemed like the Kuei-Wood Star wasn't a peaceful place either. Ancestor, Di Luo said solemnly. Don't worry, I'm here. Jiang Qin said indifferently. This time he was here to search for the power of the stars. No matter who it was, no one would be able to obstruct his path. Be it the creeping spine Earth Dragon or the Earth Serpent, Jiang Qin would kill any god or Buddha that obstructs him. Think carefully before you speak. If we really fight, I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to escape. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Otherwise, you'll have to be prepared to collect your own corpses. Jiang Qin said with a smile. His calm expression made the people of the Valley Spine Earth Dragon tribe laugh coldly. Do you really think that you can do as you please in my Earth Dragon tribe's territory? Do you really think no one can deal with you? Kid, you're still too young. You can't handle the matters of the Green On tribe. Leave it to Uncle. Uncle can guarantee that you won't have to worry about anything. But, if you insist on meddling in other people's business, then we can only meet on the battlefield. Duo Luo glanced at Jiang Qin. This fellow didn't seem to be someone easy to deal with. They were both at the star level 9. If they wanted to make Jiang Qin suffer, they would have to go through some trouble. Of course, if they could subdue the enemy without fighting, wouldn't that be great? You better think carefully. Are you going to be with the Green On tribe, or are you going to be enemies with the Earth Dragon tribe? Think carefully before you speak. Otherwise, there's no medicine for regret in this world. If you don't want to die, you'd better listen to me obediently. Your choice will determine whether or not you can continue living. If you're courting death, I can accompany you to the end. Duo Luo's domineering aura was like an unstoppable mountain as he stepped on the Green Mountain. Why are we still wasting words with him? Elder Duo Luo, this sort of person deserves to die. What an opinionated fellow. We gave him a chance, but he's useless. Why should we waste our breath on him? The other star level 9 Earth Dragon Elder, Duoluan Dong, was disdainful. In his eyes, Elder Duo Luo's actions were completely superfluous. They could have just directly attacked. Could it be that Elder Duo Luo was a match for him? These three weren't their match at all. Elder Duo Luo was too merciful. Since that's the case, then there's nothing more to say. Let's see who's stronger. I'll definitely protect the Green On tribe. Since you guys don't know what's good for you, then I can only send you to Avicii Hell. When the time comes, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Jiang Qin smiled. Stubborn dog, I'll let you see today who's the true overlord here. Duoluan Dong was infuriated from humiliation. This fellow didn't know what was good for him. Even if Elder Duo Luo gave him a chance, he would be useless. Now both sides were already at daggers drawn, and a huge battle was about to break out. Di Luo was rather nervous. He wasn't sure about his ancestor's strength, but the other side had 2-star level 9 heavens, while Jiang Qin was only 1. They would definitely be on the losing end if they fought. He never would have thought that he would encounter such a situation as soon as he returned. This was too tragic. Before the ancestor could remove the seal, they were already targeted by the Earth Dragon tribe. What should he do? At this time, even if Di Luo ran, it was too late. He couldn't escape their grasp. One had to know that the Earth Dragon tribe wasn't adept at aerial battles. However, their strength lay in domain battles. Within their absolute domain, no one was their match. This was also one of the reasons why they were so powerful. The Green On tribe really found a good helper. From the looks of it, this battle is inevitable. Kid, you don't know what's good for you getting involved in our battle. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being too arrogant. Arrogant people will never be able to become overlords. You'll pay the price for your arrogance. Duo Luo said without batting an eyelid. However, at this time he was already prepared for battle. He took a step forward and the surrounding boulders began to shatter. The earth quaked and the mountains swayed. A height of over 1,000 meters was simply indescribable. That's fine. Then I'll stretch my muscles and see how strong you guys are. Jiang Qin smiled. He held his blade horizontally and stood at the peak of the void, unafraid to fight 1 against 2. If he couldn't even beat 2-star level 9 heavens, then his death wouldn't be worth pitying. Jiang Qin didn't think that these two fellows were to be trifled with. However, his battle thirst was ignited. Previously, he had been beaten by Xuanhuan to the point of being too sullen. Now that he had met a soft persimmon, how could he not squeeze it? Courting death. Chapter 5164. Roar. Duoluan Dong's roar was like thunder as he rushed towards Jiang Qin. His huge front claws smashed downwards, almost blocking all of Jiang Qin's escape routes. It was a series of simple bombardment, accompanied by a hurricane in the sky. It was a shocking scene. Duoluan Dong's roar was like thunder. Jiang Chen's expression was calm, unmoving like a mountain. He threw out a punch that seemed light but was simple and violent. An unparalleled strength was unleashed. One big and one small fist, so small that it was hard to see, clashed with Duoluan Dong's huge claw. In an instant, an extremely terrifying strength burst out, instantly pushing Duoluan Dong back. Duoluan Dong's face was filled with fear, incomparable despair. The shock in the depths of his heart was overflowing. Although it was just a simple exchange, Jiang Chen was actually able to push him back. How was this possible? Duoluan was also shocked. He glanced at Duoluan Dong. Both of them knew that this kid wasn't simple, and they definitely couldn't give him the chance to retaliate. Bang, bang, bang. Duoluan Dong constantly hammered his chest, displaying an intense battle intent. This caused Chen Lu and Di Luo to become more and more solemn. Two towering existences against Jiang Chen, their strength was completely suppressed. However, Chen Lu still had some confidence in Jiang Chen. After all, she had witnessed the previous battle. However, Di Luo wasn't clear about this. He only knew that the battle between the two of them had overturned the entire void. The surrounding heaven and earth were trembling, and the power of a violent gale swept past, causing the sky to change color. Jiang Chen threw out one punch after another, his strength was astonishing. However, the two earth dragons' attacks were boundless. In the end, Jiang Chen still had to choose another method of battle to avoid their attacks. The limitless sword once again stirred up waves. Rays of sword light wreaked havoc, forming a double blade with the wind blade, pressing towards Duoluan Dong and Duoluan with unstoppable force. The blade and sword intent stacked together, becoming stronger and stronger. Especially Jiang Chen's limitless sword, it was one of a kind. Coupled with the heavenly dragon sword, it was flawless, and its battle strength was shocking. What a terrifying sword, Lulunding thought to himself. However, his fighting spirit was still high, and he never planned to retreat. The two of them looked at each other and started fighting again. The heavenly dragon sword moved with ease. The powerful sword aura made the two Earth Dragon clan experts unable to compete with it at all. The stronger the sword aura was, the more passive they became, and it became difficult for them to move forward. If this continued, they would only be a step away from death. Under the powerful sword aura, Duoluan and Duoluan Dong couldn't hold on any longer. Sword marks appeared on their bodies. Although it was impossible for Jiang Chen to kill all of them in an instant, if this continued, they would be closer to death. Fighting was for the sake of victory, not for the sake of death. If they were to continue like this, they would only be humiliating themselves. Originally, they had thought that victory was in their grasp, but after exchanging blows, they realized that Jiang Chen's strength was not as simple as they had imagined. 31 blade. 32 swords. Rumble. A deafening sound rang out. Duoluan Dong's body was sent flying by Jiang Chen's sword. He was in an extremely sorry state as he fell onto the mountain, smashing through the mountain ridge and kicking up a cloud of dust. Such a majestic and tyrannical colossus had actually been knocked to the ground by Jiang Chen. Duoluan didn't dare to let his guard down. He unleashed his full strength, unleashing his raging energy. However, he couldn't withstand Jiang Chen's limitless sword. The blade swept through Duoluan like withered twigs and rotten wood. Like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, Duoluan was swept to the ground. Old 7, prepare to fight to the death. Activate the absolute domain. Duoluan's furious roar resounded through the clouds. The absolute domain was the innate ability of the Earth Dragon clan. Only by using the absolute domain would they have a chance of defeating Jiang Chen. However, the absolute domain consumed too much of their energy. If they failed, their situation would be even more dangerous. Ancestor, be careful. Their absolute domains are extremely terrifying, roared Di Luo. In the next instant, Duoluan and Duoluan Dong had already begun to seal the surrounding area. Their auras began to spread, enveloping the area above Jiang Chen's head. Jiang Chen didn't even glance to the side. He watched as the surrounding space had already been sealed by the two Earth Dragon clan members, completely becoming their domain. The battle had already begun to reach its climax. Interesting, Jiang Chen said with a smile. Instead of being angry, he was happy. Only by doing this would he be able to arouse his battle desire. 2 9th Heavenly Layer Star Realm Fellas weren't enough for him to use his full strength. However, the absolute domain of these two fellas gave Jiang Chen a sense of freshness. You will definitely regret this. Die in our absolute domain, no one can stay out of it, said Duoluan Dong with an icy smile. In an instant, Jiang Chen felt that there were no longer any Genesis Chi undulations in the surroundings. His attempt to fly was already greatly hindered. The aura in his body was growing weaker and weaker, and his Genesis chi consumption was impossible to recover. In this domain they were the absolute kings. Jiang Qin charged forward, sword drawn as he scanned his surroundings with unstoppable momentum. However, what shocked him was that the absolute domain was indeed rather exciting. The two of them had retreated in order to advance, and they had completely begun to defend and counterattack. They had previously been on the passive side, but they had now taken the absolute initiative. Absolute domain, I am the king. Duo Luana swept across the sky, a heavy fist clenched into a fist as he viciously smashed it into the ground. Terrifying cracks appeared on the ground as lightning surged. Their auras had reached the apex within the absolute domain. This was their domain and they were the rulers within it. As time passed, Jiang Qin could feel that their strength had risen by at least 30%. Absolute domains were indeed extraordinary. What a strange absolute domain. Looks like it's somewhat similar to a formation. However, this absolute domain seems to be the innate skill of the Earth Dragon clan. It's able to seal people within this place, allowing them to grow stronger and stronger within this world. Jiang Qin mumbled in a low voice. It's a pity that the person you've encountered is me, Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin grew more and more courageous as the battle progressed. His dragon transformation was activated, and a powerful dragon might spread outwards. Even Duo Luana grew nervous. They never imagined that Jiang Qin would also be a member of the dragon clan. Moreover, the dragon might from his body filled them with wariness. Such strength wasn't something that anyone could achieve. Jiang Qin was unstoppable after his dragon transformation. Even if the two of them combined their strength, they still wouldn't be able to surpass Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin didn't put the so-called absolute domain in his eyes at all. As long as his opponent was stronger than them, the absolute domain would crumble by itself. Chapter 5165. That's impossible. That guy is too strong. We are not his match at all. Even the absolute domain that we formed together was easily broken. This lad isn't simple. Could this guy be an expert invited by the Greenon tribe? It's hard to say. It's better for us to leave first. Duo Luo and Duoluan Dong exchanged a glance and quickly retreated, burrowing into the ground. At this time, even if Jiang Qin wanted to find them, he would not be able to. The people from the Earth Dragon tribe are really troublesome. It seems that they are indeed the rulers of this place. Jiang Qin frowned. The two Earth Dragons could come and go as they pleased. Although he had defeated them, they had taken advantage of the situation to escape. Without any preparation he could not do anything to them. Although he was very strong, it didn't mean that he could kill all the people who were weaker than him. The people on the Kuei-wood star were very ferocious and not ordinary. It was better to be careful in the territory of others. Moreover, Jiang Qin knew that the Earth Dragon tribe was not limited to these two guys. For him this was just a show of strength. He had come here to find the source of the star power. Originally he thought that the Kuei-wood star was not as difficult as he had imagined. But now it seemed that things were not as he had imagined. After all, he had not been here before. The mysteriousness of the Kuei-wood star made him need to treat it wholeheartedly. This place could become a place that ordinary interstellar wanderers were afraid of. There was definitely more to this place. The harsh living conditions were only one of the reasons. How could anyone who could survive here be a nobody? Whether it was the Earth Dragon tribe before him or the Ice Bear tribe that Di Luo mentioned, they should be the rulers of the Kuei-wood star. The three great tribes were the last tribes to survive on the Kuei-wood star. They must have their true strengths. Ancestor, you are indeed a dragon among men. Even two Earth Dragons are not your match. It seems that our Greenon tribe will be saved this time. Di Luo said excitedly. He looked at Jiang Qin as if he was looking at a savior. In the end the two of them escaped. Jiang Qin shrugged helplessly. Ancestor, this is their territory after all, and the reason why the Creek Spine Earth Dragon can come and go freely here is because of the soil here. The soil here is loose and it suffers from thunderstorms and storms all year round. Furthermore, this is a sandy area. If it was a rocky area, they wouldn't be able to escape so easily. You don't have to blame yourself. Di Luo laughed. Jiang Qin nodded. After all, Di Luo was from the Kuei-wood star. If Di Luo didn't tell him about it, Jiang Qin wouldn't have known about it. Rumble. Layers of thunderclouds gathered above everyone's heads, giving off the feeling of dark clouds pressing down on a city. Let's go, Ancestor. There's going to be a thunderstorm here soon. A normal thunderstorm can kill a star level 5 and below. If it's a powerful thunderstorm, even a 7th or 8th star level warrior would have to avoid it and choose to retreat. Di Luo's expression grew tense. All right. Jiang Qin nodded. The three swiftly left this place. After all, this was the territory of the Earth Dragon. Who knew if they would make a comeback? Moreover, this thunderstorm didn't seem to be simple. Jiang Qin looked up at the dark clouds and seemed to be in deep thought. After leaving the Santos Plate, which was the territory of the Earth Dragon, and passing through a stormy sea region, they finally arrived at a barren mountain hell. This was the lair of the Green-On race, the Modi's Plate. This is my hometown, the Modi's Plate. Ancestor, the endless mountain ranges over there belong to the Green-On race. We are the largest territory on the entire Kuewood planet. Even if the Earth Dragon race and the Ice Bear race join forces, they would only be equal to us. However, due to the scarcity of resources on the Kuewood planet, there are very few living creatures and even plants on the land. Many times we have to enter the rivers and lakes to search for food. That's why there are huge disputes with the Ice Bear race. The three races have always been in conflict. However, to be able to stand for tens of millions of years without falling, the Ice Bear race and the Earth Dragon race aren't simple either. We've lived here for generations waiting for the ancestors' arrival. I think the Patriarch and the rest would be very happy to hear about you, Ancestor. With Ancestor here, everything can be easily resolved. Di Luo's admiration for Jiang Qin was at its peak. Especially after the previous battle, it was almost unimaginable to him. The person they had been protecting and searching for generations had finally been found by him. Di Luo's heart was filled with excitement. The Green-On race had a tradition. Every 1,000 years, someone would be sent out to search for traces of the ancestor to buy time for them. If they didn't return after 1,000 years, then that person would be equivalent to dying outside. Once they left the Kuewood planet, the members of the Green-On race could only live for 1,000 years. Just like that, they waited for 1,000 years. After countless thousands of years, those who died were all geniuses of the Green-On race. Because they had gone out to train, they hadn't returned for 1,000 years. Ordinary azure monkeys simply couldn't complete such a task. However, even those azure monkeys understood that once they left the Kuewood planet, 1,000 years might be their final destination. This was the fate of every azure monkey. It was also their struggle against the seal of the azure monkey race. The azure monkeys were extremely powerful primate demonic beasts. They were even smarter than humans. However, because of this seal and curse, no one had been able to change it. This had become the eternal misfortune of the Green-On race. Search for the ancestor, remove the curse, return after 1,000 years and have no time to die. Jiang Qin was also very emotional. If he could find the source of the power of the stars and help them remove this curse, then perhaps it wouldn't be a matter of boundless merit. Although Jiang Qin was somewhat helpless about being mistaken for an ancestor, Di Luo's eyes were filled with hope. Di Luo was his hope for this world. Only Di Luo could help him solve this riddle and unravel the secret of the Green-On race. At least that was what Di Luo believed. In a basin surrounded by mountains, the surroundings were filled with howling winds and torrential rain. However, only this place was peaceful. Chapter 5166. Moreover, when Jiang Qin stepped into the mountain basin, he felt a slight pressure, as though this place was a terrifying hell. From the bottom to the top, the pressure was indescribable. But what surprised Jiang Qin was that he could really feel the intense power of the stars here. Looks like I didn't come here for nothing. Jiang Qin murmured. Ancestor, look. That's the underground palace of our Green-On tribe. Di Luo pointed at the huge cave in the distance, his face full of excitement. Di Luo? You're finally back? Don't you know that the Patriarch has been looking for you? You left without saying goodbye. How many of us are sad? A heavenly green monkey who was wearing a leather skirt and holding a long spear appeared in front of Di Luo with a few leaps. Odom, I'm sorry. I just wanted to go out for a walk. Di Luo sighed. Just wait for the Patriarch to punish you. The Patriarch said that even if you don't die outside, you'll be sent to Black Wind Fairy to guard it for 1,000 years. Odom said in a low voice. The Black Wind Fairy was the place where the storms were the strongest. Once a powerful storm appeared there, they had to report it immediately so that they could leave this place and head to the next wind gap. The Black Wind Fairy was filled with violent winds all year round, and the azure monkeys there had to eat and sleep in the open. This was their greatest punishment and they might even die there. Don't worry. The Patriarch will definitely not let me guard Black Wind Fairy this time, because I've brought the ancestor that our Green-On tribe has been searching for. Ah. Di Luo said excitedly, pointing at Jiang Qin. Him? Ancestor? Odom's face changed instantly, his spear pointing at Jiang Qin, his eyes full of caution. You've been tricked, Di Luo. Who is this? Why did you bring him back to our Greenon tribe? Do you know that we found the ancestor? Odom's face was solemn. He was filled with suspicion towards the person that Diluo had brought. This was because they had already found their ancestor, and this person was definitely an imposter. Right now, the Greenon tribe was like a raging fire, and Diluo had always been outside, so he didn't know about it. He was also confused about the matter of the Greenon tribe finding their ancestor. What? Did they find the ancestor? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Mr. Jiangchen is the one we're looking for. You must have been tricked. Odom, you've all been tricked. Diluo was instantly enraged, and his face was filled with indignation. How could he have found the wrong person? Jiangchen was definitely the ancestor he had been looking for. He had happily brought the ancestor back, but now his clansmen were saying that the ancestor he had found was a fake. A fake? This was absolutely impossible. Diluo could not accept Odom's words. Don't be so stubborn. This person is a big liar. I don't know where you found him, but Diluo, you have to understand that the ancestor is already in our hall. He is discussing with the patriarch how to break the curse. Now that you have a fake, aren't you making things difficult for the patriarch? On account of our brotherhood, I can let bygones be bygones if you get him out of Kuewood Star, but you have to come with me to beg for forgiveness. Odom roared, his eyes filled with regret. Diluo had suffered too much from being tricked. Impossible. Odom, I want to see the patriarch. Bring me to the patriarch. The one I brought back is the ancestor of our Greenon clan. Only ancestor Jiangchen can remove our curse. The one you found is the fake one. Odom said. Diluo's gaze was like an arrow, unwavering. You really disappoint me. If you dare to force your way in, don't blame me for being impolite. Diluo, we grew up together. Don't force me. Odom glared at Diluo. You're the one who forced me. Diluo clenched his fists and argued. Jiangchen frowned as well. He had not expected the Greenon tribe to find the ancestor at this time. What a coincidence. They had not been able to find him for millions of years. This time, Diluo had brought him back to Kuewood Star, and the Greenon tribe had found him? Wasn't this too strange? Diluo, don't be stubborn. Otherwise no one will be able to save you. Hurry up and surrender. Odom snorted coldly. I must see the patriarch today. You've all been tricked. Diluo's face was filled with anxiety. Stubborn fool. Looks like you've been brainwashed by the liar. Today I will defend this place on behalf of the Greenon tribe. No one will be able to take half a step forward. Odom raised his blade and slashed in front of Jiangchen and Diluo, his long spear pointed at them. Ancestor, I'm sorry. This is all my fault. Please forgive me. I will go see the patriarch now. Diluo's heart was filled with complicated emotions. You want to see the patriarch? In your dreams. Watch my spear. Odom sneered. His face was filled with resentment, and the corner of his mouth was filled with disdain. Today, with me here, no one will be able to take a step forward unless they step over my dead body. Odom's rage exploded as he charged towards Jiangchen. No, Odom. Diluo was filled with despair. Jiangchen frowned and flipped Odom to the ground with a backhand slap. There was no doubt that he'd taken down his opponent in one move. Odom laid on the ground, foaming at the mouth. He was heavily injured not because Jiangchen was too heavy-handed, but because he was too weak. Jiangchen only used 30% of his power and he was already on the ground. A star level 5, and Jiangchen could casually slap 10 of them away. Wasn't this just metal? Idiot. Jiangchen Lung said, stepping on Odom's body. I've already warned you not to do it, Odom, but why didn't you listen? Now you know how powerful the ancestor is. Diluo looked at Odom sympathetically. Without hesitation, he stepped on Odom's body and walked into the Greenon tribe's main hall. It hurts. Diluo, I'm not done with you. Odom's weak voice reverberated around the mountain. But at this moment, Jiangchen and Diluo had already entered the cave. They went down for a few thousand meters before arriving at the main hall of the Greenon clan. At this moment in the main hall, there was an old man with black and white hair. He wore a white brocade robe and stood on a high seat. His eyes were cold as he silently looked at everyone present. His attire was completely different from the azure monkeys of the Greenon clan. That was why Jiangchen was able to spot him at first glance. Half-step cosmic cloud state, very strong. This was Jiangchen's first impression. This man was much stronger than Yi Tianan, who he had just fought. Right below him there were 4 people standing in front of him. Although they were peak star states, they were extremely powerful. Jiangchen felt that their power wasn't any weaker than a half-step cosmic cloud state. Those few should be the blue monkeys. Their power was terrifying. Although they didn't reach the half-step cosmic cloud state, their power had reached a level beyond the 9 heavens of the star state. Their cultivation level just hadn't broken through yet. Chapter 5167. Behind them stood hundreds of green sky monkeys. All of them were clad in beast skins and had solemn looks on their faces. They were extremely pious as they knelt before the old man in white robes. I shall lead you guys out of the wrong path and allow the glory of our ancestors to shine upon this land forever. The tree of Kuei Star shall change because of my arrival. The old man in white robes declared with conviction. The look in his eyes was extremely domineering. His condescending attitude was like an unparalleled emperor, giving off a domineering aura. Thank you, Ancestor. Thank you, Ancestor, for illuminating our future. Thank you, Ancestor, for helping us escape from the abyss of suffering. Thank you, Ancestor, for letting us break free from our curse. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The old man in beast skins who was the leader of the group was imposing without being angry. He crossed his arms and mumbled to himself. His eyes were extremely clear. Who's there? All of a sudden the old man in white robes bellowed out. Looking at the entrance of the main hall, he saw Jiang Chen and the other two standing there with faces filled with rage and disdain. He's a fake. Leader, this man isn't our ancestor. I've already found our ancestor. The ancestor before me is the real ancestor. He's a fake. Di Luo pointed at the old man in white robes and declared. Instantly, everyone looked at this scene with a dumbfounded look. No one had expected that at this critical moment, Di Luo would return. And he even brought someone along with him, claiming that he was their ancestor? Recognizing someone as their ancestor was a huge taboo. Who would have thought that Di Luo, who had disappeared for a long time, would turn this crazy? Was this young man truly their ancestor? This was way too ridiculous, wasn't it? And the most important thing was, why would two ancestors appear at the same time? Could it be that this was premeditated? All of this was a huge humiliation for the Green Brilliance race. How was this any different from recognizing someone as their father? Why is this Di Luo back? That's right. And of all times? Who's the person he brought with him? Who knows? Isn't this too much of a coincidence? Where did he find someone to recognize someone as their ancestor? That's a huge taboo. Yeah, Di Luo is too irresponsible. Does he really take our Azuron clan to be a 3-year-old child? That stinking brat, he still knows to come back. He's too much of a bastard to question the ancestor in public. We must punish him heavily to serve as a warning to others. Many of the Azure monkeys started whispering to each other. Their faces were filled with anger towards Di Luo's actions. This was too much of a disgrace to their Azure Light tribe. So many people were watching him act like a monkey. This was too much. Many people were filled with righteous indignation. Finding their ancestor was a joyous occasion for their Green-On tribe. How could they not celebrate such a thing? But at this time, when the entire clan was celebrating, Di Luo had returned. Moreover, he had said such a shocking thing. He had actually said that he had brought back an ancestor? This was too ridiculous. If they hadn't found their ancestor, they might have been deceived by Di Luo. But now it seemed that Di Luo was the clown who was spouting nonsense. To the Green-On tribe, finding their ancestor meant that they could break the curse that had lasted thousands of years. In other words, they could be like normal people again. But who would have thought that two ancestors would appear at the same time? Wasn't this a joke? Jiang Chen frowned as well. Real or fake ancestor? It seemed like the Green-On tribe was getting more and more interesting. Bastard? Di Luo, do you know who you're talking to? This is our Green-On tribe's ancestor. You bastard, hurry up and kneel before our ancestor. Kowtow and admit your mistake. Otherwise, I won't let you off. Patriarch Rodi bellowed as he glared at Di Luo. One could imagine the anger in his eyes. His anger was about to burst out. Patriarch, you've really got the wrong person. I dare say that person is definitely not our ancestor. Our ancestor is right beside me. The person beside me is our ancestor. You've all been deceived. This person must be a fake. I don't know what his purpose in coming to our Green-On tribe is, but I, Di Luo, will never recognize him. Di Luo said through gritted teeth. This scene had far exceeded his understanding. But he firmly believed that Jiang Chen was his ancestor. This person must have some sort of conspiracy to appear in the Green-On tribe. You bastard, you don't know what's good for you. How could our Green-On tribe have a scum like you? How dare you slander our ancestor? You're courting death. Lobos's face was gloomy. He was the most outstanding genius of the Green-On tribe. He was the one who had found his ancestor. This Di Luo was obviously slandering him. Who do you think you are? You're flaunting your prowess in front of the patriarch and our ancestor. You're just trash. You actually snuck out. Now you know how sinister people can be? You're back? But what kind of trash did you bring back? Do you think the patriarch will forgive you like this? Escaping from the Greenon tribe is the greatest crime. The patriarch will definitely not let you off. And now, you don't even care about our ancestor. You even dare to spout such arrogant words. Our Greenon tribe will not tolerate you. Lobos had gone through a lot of hardships and finally found his ancestor. But now he was called a fake. One could imagine the rage in his heart. Now, everyone was looking at Di Luo as if they were looking at a fool. Even the patriarch was getting more and more furious. Although the patriarch was his grandfather, it didn't mean that he would cheat for personal gain. For so many years, the hopes of the entire Greenon tribe had been pinned on him. Now he was telling them that the ancestor they were worshipping was a fake. Who could tolerate this? Lobos, the ancestor you found is a fake. You've been deceived. Ancestor Jiangchen is the one we're looking for. Don't try to scare us. Di Luo's heart was filled with anger. But at this time no one believed him. Di Luo, you're also a member of our Greenon tribe. Hurry up and kneel. Kneel to our ancestor. Our ancestor has harmed your life. Perhaps he won't hold it against you. Right. You must have been deceived by someone else. That's why you did such a thing. Hurry up and kneel. Di Luo, don't make a mistake. If you don't hurry up and apologize to our ancestor, will you be able to bear the consequences? Exactly. Don't mess around alone. If our ancestor gets angry, our entire tribe will be implicated by you. Damn it, Di Luo. You're a jinx. Do you think the patriarch won't hold you accountable? You're too naive. Faced with everyone's condemnation, Di Luo's face was still dark and unwavering. I don't care who you are. Kill yourself now and I'll leave your corpse intact. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. Pretending to be an ancestor of our Greenon tribe means you're dead. Chapter 5168. Jiangchen smiled but didn't say anything. He didn't expect to be arranged by others the moment he arrived. Moreover, there was a fake ancestor here. The situation instantly became very awkward. Di Luo, who was at the side, couldn't control the entire situation. Moreover, all the people of the Greenlight tribe now thought that Jiangchen was a fake. Di Luo wanted to escape the blame. That was why he brought people back. He even said that he had found the ancestor. Wasn't this bullshit? Who would believe him? If it was before, it might have been possible. But now that the ancestor had been found and was leading them to break the forbidden curse, another ancestor suddenly appeared? At this time it was obvious that there was a conspiracy. They hadn't found one in 1,000 years and now there were two of them. It was really a little sad. The innocent are innocent and the corrupted are corrupted. Who is fake? Everyone has their own opinions. You're not the only one who said it. Di Luo, I didn't expect you to be such an irresponsible person. You actually want to keep our tribe members in the dark. What are your intentions? Lobo said coldly, looking straight at Di Luo. He didn't put him in his eyes at all. This kid was now the target of everyone's criticism. All the people of the Greenlight tribe were full of undying hatred for him. Facing the blame of so many people, Di Luo was very depressed. However, he couldn't change the minds of his tribe members. The one he had found was the real ancestor and this person was definitely a fake. However, they still held him in such high esteem. This caused Di Luo to fall into a state of panic. He was completely at a loss. Yi Luodi pointed directly at Jiangchen. He was full of killing intent. At this time there was no turning back. Patriarch, I beg you to believe me. Ancestor Jiangchen is our real ancestor. This person is definitely a fake. I dare to guarantee it with my life. Di Luo roared angrily. How much is your life worth? You're already crazy. Do you still want to drag the people of our tribe to go crazy with you? You've already been bewitched by this guy. Patriarch, I don't think it's necessary to keep Di Luo. Since he's with this liar, can we assume that Di Luo has already betrayed us? What's the point of keeping him? Lobos' expression was cold. He didn't put Di Luo in his eyes at all. At this time his crazy attitude made many people shake their heads. This kid is useless. He actually wants us to deceive the ancestors. Isn't he clearly stirring up trouble by bringing this person? This guy is afraid that he will be punished by the patriarch when he returns. That's why he found someone to impersonate the ancestor. Yee, how interesting. Does he think that all of us are fools? Di Luo is too young. He must have thought this because Lobos found the ancestor and felt that he was inferior to Lobos. That's why he found someone to impersonate him. How pitiful. Det Luo. What's the point of saying all this now? We should quickly bring Di Luo away and deal with him in the future. As for this impostor, we should execute him on the spot as a warning to others. You're right. Kill him and clear the name of our ancestor. Almost all the clansmen pointed their spears at Jiang Chen at this moment, leaving him with no room to maneuver. In the eyes of the Greenon clan, Jiang Chen was a heinous criminal who had impersonated their ancestor. He had ulterior motives and deserved to die 1,000 times over. Ancestor Jiang Chen, I'm sorry, Di Luo's face was filled with bitterness. He stared at Jiang Chen, feeling extremely sullen in his heart. However, since the patriarch and the others refused to acknowledge Jiang Chen as their ancestor, there was nothing he could do. These fellows seemed to be very stubborn. Chen Lu said with a frown. These people were not ordinary people. Moreover, they had completely treated Big Brother Jiang Chen as an enemy. Even their clansman Di Luo was forced into a corner. Di Luo, this matter started because of you. You can't escape responsibility. However, he can't leave today no matter what. If not for the fact that I'm afraid of disturbing the ancestor, I would have already killed him. Patriarch Yi Luo Di stared straight at Jiang Chen. His eyes flickered with killing intent. Looks like you bunch of stubborn fools are truly too detestable. Di Luo has tried his best to persuade you, yet all of you aren't willing to listen to him at all. Could it be that in your eyes he's a complete and utter liar? I don't know who the ancestor you're talking about is. If I'm not the ancestor, then he must be a fake. Jiang Chen said with a smile. Nonsense. How could there be such a thing? The ancestor isn't someone you can slander. If we don't kill you today, where will our ancestor's face be? Luo Bo rebuked. Ancestor? How can you be so sure that he's your ancestor? How can you be sure that I'm not? You need evidence for everything. If you don't have evidence, you just spout nonsense and make irresponsible remarks. Is this the Greenon tribe? If Di Luo hadn't begged me to come, I wouldn't have bothered to come here. Jiang Chen shook his head and said coldly. These people had already regarded him as their greatest enemy. However, the white-clothed old man was out of his expectation. This man was just sitting on the mountain and watching the tigers fight. He didn't do anything at all. Jiang Chen shook his head and said with a cold expression. Yes, Patriarch, Ancestor Jiang Chen has the power of the stars in his body. There's no mistake about this. Didn't you tell me before? Anyone who can use the power of the stars must be our ancestor? Di Luo suddenly spoke with a serious expression. At this moment, the originally indifferent and carefree white-robed elder seemed to have become frowning. When he looked at Jiang Chen, his eyes were filled with unconcealable hostility. Is this true? Yi Luo Di looked at Di Luo and asked in a low voice. It's absolutely true. Otherwise, Patriarch, think about it. Why would I think that Ancestor Jiang Chen is the person we're looking for? Di Luo's face was full of excitement. Is this true? He also has the power of the stars? Isn't this too unbelievable? Didn't our ancestors say that the existence of an ancestor is unique? How could this be? I don't know. If two ancestors appear, what will we do? Exactly. If this goes on, won't we become a laughing stock? Even the ancestors have two. This is too unreasonable. There must be something fishy about this. It's hard to say. Many azure monkeys were restless, causing another commotion. Jiang Chen's identity made everyone suspicious. If Di Luo's words were true, then how could the ancestor tell who was real and who was fake? This kind of person, I'm afraid he's just making irresponsible remarks? Patriarchy, do you still believe such a person? I think he has ulterior motives. As a patriarch, I'm afraid you've been bewitched by others. Do you believe that there's a second ancestor in this world? If I don't help you get in touch with him, you'll never have a chance to make a name for yourselves. Chapter 5169. The white-robed elderly's eyes were cold as he glared at Jiang Chen. Seemed like this fella had come prepared. This ancestor is right. I was too rash. How could someone like this be my ancestor? I shouldn't have doubted him. Please punish me, ancestor. This person must be trying to harm our Green Brilliance race. I'll deal with him as soon as possible. I won't let my ancestor suffer any injustice. Yi Rodi replied hurriedly, afraid that his ancestor would be enraged. Once his ancestor rose up, they would have to face the threat of the eternal curse. They would never be able to remove the curse again. To them, this was like a bolt out of the blue. The arrival of their ancestor was something they had been dreaming of. Furthermore, there was no collusion of benefits. Their ancestor was purely thinking for their future. At a time like this, how could they still doubt their ancestor? Wasn't this not knowing what was good for him? Yi Rodi was clear about the situation the Green Brilliance race was in right now. If they really missed this opportunity, who knew if there would be a second time? This impostor of their ancestor must definitely be punished. Otherwise, how would their ancestor's face be preserved? He and I are irreconcilable. If there's him, there'll be no me. If there's me, there'll be no him. The white-robed elderly was filled with righteous indignation. At this point, they were as incompatible as fire and water. Our ancestor is benevolent. If it were me, I would have fought him a long time ago. That's right. Our ancestor is so benevolent. We must not let our ancestor suffer injustice. Leader, hurry up and do it. Kill this fella and clear the name of our ancestor. Humph, he doesn't know what's good for him. I think this Di Luo should be killed as well. Otherwise, how can we face our ancestor? Everyone was condemning Di Luo, and had already turned him into a target for everyone. Truly laughable. You bunch of stubborn fellows are truly too disappointing. Jiang Qin shook his head. Within his palm, a dragon silhouette formed from the power of the stars appeared. At that moment, everyone's faces changed. Impossible. That's impossible. Isn't the power of the stars exclusive to our ancestor? There can't be a second person who can use it. That's right. Isn't this way too unbelievable? Just who is this person? I'm afraid there's going to be a good show this time around. Two ancestors? That's impossible. It's not realistic. The entire Greenon race was in chaos. Everyone was at a loss. This was just too outrageous, right? Two ancestors appeared at the same time. This caused Yi Rodi to be confused. Who exactly was this person that Di Luo brought back? Was this person really an ancestor? Then who was the person beside him? Two ancestors? Yi Rodi was speechless. He didn't even know who he should believe. The white-clothed old man's face was gloomy. His eyes narrowed slightly as he stared directly at Jiang Qin, and quite a bit of shock arose in his heart. Why does this fellow possess the energy of the stars? You've learned quite well from me. Unfortunately, a fake is still a fake. If you admit defeat now, kneel down and beg for mercy, I can still let you go. Qin Shi's gaze was gentle as he pointed at Jiang Qin. This time he had made ample preparations to come to the Greenon race. There was no way he would give up now. No matter where this fellow came from, he would not be a threat to him. Jiang Qin and Qin Shi's eyes stared at each other. Neither of them took a step back. At this moment there was a feeling of a needle against an awl. If this battle continued, it was hard to say who would laugh in the end. Most importantly, the two of them were in a stalemate. Who was the real ancestor? No one in the Greenon race could tell. Even Patriarch Yi Rodi was a little confused as he looked at Di Luo. Di Luo spread his hands, the corners of his mouth twitching. Was this ancestor real too? Even he was a little lost. Because the way they determined who the ancestors were was that they could use the power of the stars. But now both of them could use the power of the stars. This was something that no one could decipher. Jiang Qin's eyes were blazing. This guy must be an imposter because no one else could use the power of the stars other than him. Even if someone could use it, it must be with the help of an external object. It wasn't something that he could use on his own. When Jiang Qin inherited Senior Longfoot's Buddha prison palace, he had heard Senior Longfoot say that even experts stronger than him could not absorb the power of the stars. He was the pioneer of the astral pole. Besides him, in the 9 heavens and 10 earths, in the eternal world, there was no one else who could use the power of the stars. There was definitely something fishy about this fellow. Di Luo looked this. Yi Rodi stared at Di Luo. He didn't know how to differentiate between the two of them who was the ancestor. Di Luo also felt relieved. It was no wonder that they didn't believe him. This white-robed old man was indeed able to unleash astral energy. Right now they had already sunk into a state of confusion. Who was the true ancestor? Everyone had their own opinions, everyone had their own reasons. You're a fake product, but you seem to be quite good at it. Jiang Qin Lung said. Qin Shi stared straight at Jiang Qin. Qin Shi's power was at the half-step cosmic cloud state while Jiang Qin was only at the 9th heaven of the star state. Therefore he didn't have anything to be afraid of. Even if they really fought, he wouldn't have to worry. On the other hand, Qin Shi was puzzled as to why Jiang Qin was able to use the power of the stars. Could it be that this kid had used some kind of secret technique? No, he had to figure it out. Even if he didn't, he would kill him. This guy would definitely be an obstacle to him. Qin Shi thought. The colors in his eyes intertwined and formed a line. You should be asking yourself who's the fake one. Don't you feel ashamed? You're only a level 9 star state, yet you're pretending to be his ancestor. Aren't you afraid of being killed by him? Qin Shi sneered. The innocent are innocent. I'm very curious about how you use the power of the stars, but from now on you probably won't have the chance. I will personally unveil your scheme. Jiang Qin was as still as a mountain. True gold fears no fire. He certainly had nothing to worry about. However, Qinchi was afraid that he would have to play the real or fake ancestor with him this time. For the green light race, if both of them could use the power of the stars, did that mean they were both ancestors? That was impossible. But what happened in the end? However, they were very puzzled. Di Luo and the people that Lobos had brought back were too similar. Di Luo, how did you find the ancestor? Are you sure this person is the ancestor? Someone whispered into Di Luo's ear. What was Jiang Chen's background? But Di Luo didn't know what to say because he was at a loss. I don't know, it's not your fault. Anyone would fall into despair in this situation. We can only leave the final decision to the leader. Someone suggested. Yi Luoti's face darkened. Leave it to me? Chapter 5170. Although Yi Rodi was at his wit's end and didn't know what to say, he was still the patriarch of the clan after all. At this time he really had to make the decision. Di Luo looked at Jiang Chen's ancestor and fell silent. He didn't know what to do. Jiang Chen knew that he might not be the ancestor of the Greenon clan, but this sanctimonious fellow was definitely not the ancestor of the clan. His astral force was the only existence in the world. Back then, even the Eternal Lord wanted to unlock the great secret of Senior Long Fudo. Astral force was the goal of the entire Eternal world. Even the Eternal Lord coveted it. How could a mere half-step cosmic cloud state touch it? All of this was definitely Qinchi's scheme. As for what his objective was, perhaps only he himself knew. Facing Qinchi's provocation, Jiang Qin knew that this bastard wanted to suppress him with his strength to gain an absolute advantage. Because he could see that Jiang Chen's strength wasn't as good as his, only at the ninth sky of the star realm. This kind of trash would surely be defeated by him. Qinchi narrowed his eyes. He was also very curious because he was able to unleash the power of the stars using a secret technique. But how did this guy do it? He didn't believe that this guy could really use cosmic force. Did someone find out about his secret? How did the Kuei Jupiter star, an existence that had long been abandoned by people, suddenly become a hot planet? Now, someone was pretending to be the ancestor of the Green Mang race? Now, it seemed that there was definitely something fishy about this person. But to Qinchi, keeping him alive might be of great use. Since that's the case, let's have a competition. I believe that everyone will be able to find out who is the ancestor of your Greenon tribe. Qinchi said plainly. This guy is too shameless. Qin Lu frowned. He knows that big brother Jiang Qin isn't as strong as him, only a ninth heavenly star realm, but he still took the initiative to challenge big brother Jiang Qin to a death match. Isn't this bullying? How could you say such treacherous and cunning words? How disgusting. Qin Lu was depressed and felt indignant for her big brother Jiang Qin. But at this moment, the blue monkeys of the Green Mang race became restless. Not bad, this is a good idea. Whoever wins will be the ancestor of the Green Mang race. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Since there's no way to tell them apart, we'll let them do it. Yes, true gold fears no fire. As long as it's a real ancestor, he must be the pride of the Green Mang race. Leader, hurry up and announce it. Let them fight and we'll know who our ancestor is. Many people were already eager to give it a try. Although they weren't the ones fighting, when they thought about the two real and fake ancestors fighting, they were filled with excitement. The imposter would definitely be spurned by them. Ancestor Jiang Qin, this. Di Luo looked at Jiang Qin with a troubled expression. Di Luo looked at Jiang Qin with a troubled expression. He didn't know who to believe in anymore, but he still leaned towards Jiang Qin. Even if Jiang Qin's strength wasn't as strong as Qinchi, then we'll do as he says. Jiang Qin said with a smile. He didn't refute Qinchi's words because he also wanted to see what Qinchi was planning. In that case, if both of you agree, then let's see who can win. Both of you, please. Leader Yi Luoti said. Qinchi didn't expect Jiang Qin to agree to it so easily. Wasn't this guy afraid that he would kill him in the middle of the battle? What an arrogant guy. It seemed he had to teach him a lesson. No one could be an obstacle to him, not even a half-step cosmic cloud state, much less a star state. Your courage is praiseworthy, but do you know that you have no chance? Qinchi smiled confidently. His eyes flashed as he stared at Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin was also full of confidence. It seemed this guy really wanted to fight him? To determine the winner. Don't be too confident. If you lose in the end, wouldn't you be slapping your face? Jiang Qin said nonchalantly. Stubborn. I was planning to give you a chance to piss off, but you're so arrogant. You're courting death by doing this. Do you know that? You think I'm joking with you. In fact, if I want to kill you, it'll be a piece of cake. For the sake of the Green Mang race, it seems I have to act forcefully. I must erase any opposing voices. Qin Shi looked at Jiang Chen arrogantly. He did not put Jiang Chen in his eyes at all. The battle was about to start, there was no room for negotiation. Then come at me. I want to see if you're really that strong. Will the Green Mang race rise because of you? Jiang Chen smiled. You don't know what's good for you. Take this. Qin Shi took a step forward, sweeping through the void and punched out. Waves of light surged. Everyone's expression became solemn watching this battle. Could this Jiang Chen really fight Qin Shi, a 9th Heavenly Layer Star Realm expert? At least they didn't think so. They just wanted to see who would win. Who would be their ancestor. Jiang Chen did not want to be outdone. He held the Heavenly Dragon Sword in his hand and the two of them instantly clashed. Clanging sounds could be heard and it was filled with a majestic and domineering aura. Di Luo, where did you find this guy? Is he reliable? Someone asked Di Luo. I feel that Ancestor Jiang Chen is our ancestor. That guy is the fake one. Di Luo said. You can't say that. I'm more optimistic about Ancestor Qin Shi. He's a half-step cosmic cloud state. This is our ancestor. Does Jiang Chen have the power? He hasn't even reached the half-step cosmic cloud state himself, yet he wants to save the Green Mang race. Is that possible? What a joke. Someone snorted. That's right. I support Ancestor Qin Shi on this. That Jiang Chen is clearly despicable and weak. He must be a fake. Everyone nodded. Almost no one looked favorably on Jiang Chen. However, at this moment Jiang Chen had the absolute initiative. Qin Shi couldn't hold on any longer in front of him. Each of Jiang Chen's attacks was ruthless. Qin Shi was exhausted from running for his life. In less than 20 moves he had fallen into a passive position. Damn it, he faked it. How is this guy so strong? Qin Shi's face was gloomy. He knew he was no match for Jiang Chen. He didn't have the right to use his powers. He had been using his cosmic force the entire time and was losing. He didn't even unleash the power of a half-step cosmic cloud state. Everyone at the scene was dumbfounded. This scene was out of everyone's expectations. Chapter 5171. So strong. It seems this Jiang Chen is really going to be stronger. Is that so? Then is Jiang Chen our ancestor? Hard to say, let's see the result first. Ancestor Jiang Chen, good job. Everyone's eyes flashed. Jiang Chen had the absolute advantage. It seemed he was going to win for sure. Even Yi Luodi was hesitant. Were they wrong before? The strength that Jiang Chen displayed was very strong, and it was the true power of the stars. Qin Shi was the same, but he was a fake. His half-step cosmic cloud state power was very strong, but he couldn't do much against Jiang Chen. He used his star force to disguise himself. Hence, he couldn't defeat Jiang Chen. Instead, Jiang Chen gained the upper hand. Jiang Chen was fearless. True gold fears no fire. He had crushed Qin Shi with his overwhelming strength, but it wasn't easy to kill him. Jiang Chen was fearless. Moreover, Jiang Chen suddenly didn't want to fight this fellow anymore. He chose to retreat at the critical moment. Piss off. Jiang Chen's sword slashed down. Qin Shi's pupils constricted and he quickly retreated. However, his facial expression was getting uglier and uglier. He dodged Jiang Chen's sword by a hair's breadth and quickly retreated with blazing eyes. You lost. Jiang Chen looked straight at Qin Shi at this moment. The crowd became silent. Qin Shi's gaze was cold, but he was very clear that if this was a life-and-death battle, it would be hard to say who would emerge as the victor. But if they were only using astral energy to fight, this brat's strength was indeed a notch higher. This made Qin Shi extremely depressed. Are you sure now? Ancestor Jiang Chen is the real ancestor. Di Luo said excitedly. So what? He beat me. Does that mean he's the ancestor of the Green-on race? Don't you think it's too childish to judge based on victory and defeat? I am the true ancestor of the Green-on tribe. Although I lost with honor. Does that mean I am not the ancestor of the Green-on tribe? This is the truth. I am the real one and I will not lower my head. True gold fears no fire. If you can prove that I am not the ancestor of the Green-on race, then I will admit defeat. Di Luo was stunned, Chen Lu was stunned as well because they had never seen such a shameless person. He had clearly lost, but he still had such an arrogant attitude. They had never seen such a righteous person before. They were really speechless. Shameless. To be able to bring out his shamelessness to such an extent, he must be drunk. What should we do? Patriarch? That's right. Seems like what Ancestor Qin Shi said makes sense. It doesn't mean that our ancestor is the one who wins, and it doesn't mean that he isn't the one who loses. That seems to be the case. Unless we can find evidence to prove that he isn't our ancestor, it's hard to say who will win or lose. Patriarch, what do you think? Yi Rodi had a depressed look on his face. Why are you guys looking for me for everything? Don't you guys have eyes that can tell right from wrong? But at the end of the day, as the patriarch of the Greenon race, it was hard for him to absolve himself from the blame. But what Xianxia said wasn't without reason. The identity of an ancestor wasn't something that could be decided with a hammer. Everything needed evidence. He's clearly being unreasonable. If he won, would he still say that? Qianlu angrily said. Don't be impatient. Since the outcome of this battle has been decided, there's no need to continue arguing. Jiang Qin shrugged and patted Qianlu's head. It wasn't easy to win against ancestor Xianxia this time. Jiang Qin said in a loud voice. In an instant, everyone was stunned. What was going on? Jiang Qin actually called Xianxia ancestor? In other words, Jiang Qin had already admitted who was the real ancestor? Di Luo's face was filled with astonishment as he stared at Jiang Qin in disbelief, not knowing what to do. Ancestor Jiang Qin, this, Di Luo solemnly said. Jiang Qin waved his hands. I'm not your ancestor at all. From the very beginning I've been talking to you. I'm not. It's just your wishful thinking that I'm the ancestor of your Greenon race. I can't do anything about it. Seeing that your heart is extremely simple and honest, I couldn't bear to hurt you. Hence I came with you. Since I've already won, I can retreat unscathed. Let me tell you the truth. Jiang Qin righteously said. Senior Xianxia is your true ancestor. I was just forcibly captured by Di Luo. However, I am indeed able to unleash the power of the stars. That is why I came here out of curiosity. Even if I am not the ancestor of your Xianhuan clan, there should be a deep connection between us. I hope that everyone can treat me as a family member. I support ancestor Xianxia. Jiang Qin decisively retreated. At this moment he could have gained the upper hand and was arrogant. However, he chose to retreat instead. Even Qianlu was stunned. Wasn't this giving way to the bad guys? Only the heavens knew what background that Xianxia had. Di Luo was also in a dilemma, not knowing what he should do. This scene caused everyone from the Greenon race to be filled with admiration for Jiang Qin. He had done something that ordinary people wouldn't dare to do. He had spoken the truth. At this moment he had already won. Hence, he didn't need to worry about the attacks of the Greenon race. This was why he could say such words in such a casual manner. To the members of the Greenon race, Jiang Qin was someone who was extremely worthy of respect. A person who cared about the big picture, was a role model for them. Xianxia was a little dumbfounded as well. This fella had taken the initiative to retreat. What was going on? Was this because he knew that he wasn't a match for him and was the first to be eliminated? Was he afraid that he would kill him? However, this was also good. A wise man submits to circumstances. If Jiang Qin didn't stand out, Xianxia wouldn't bother with him. This time Jiang Qin had an even more important secret. Jiang Qin was like this. He had come for Xianxia's secret. It was precisely because he didn't know who Xianxia was that he wanted to have a good fight with this fella. However, this person would rather lose to him than fight to the death with him. This meant that he still had a trump card. In this way, Jiang Qin was even more certain that Xianxia had come prepared. Moreover, it was very likely that he had some unknown secret. He had chosen to retreat at this moment because he wanted to watch Xianxia's performance. Once this person made his move, it would definitely be earth-shattering. Hence, he had to wait for an opportunity to act. Showing weakness to the enemy was the best opportunity for Jiang Qin. Since that's the case, then the truth will be revealed. Little friend Jiang Qin, I didn't think that you would actually be so righteous. You're truly a role model for our generation. You can also use the power of the stars. You're truly a close friend of our Greenon race. We're proud of you. Chapter 5172. I've said it before. True gold fears no fire. You guys should be clear now who the true king is. As the ancestor of the Greenon race, the reason why I'm here today is to save you guys. But you guys almost rejected me at the door. This is truly disappointing. Xianxia's face was sorrowful as he shook his head, unwilling to accept this. Ancestor, please don't blame me. It's all my fault. I was too indecisive and almost misunderstood you. Who would have thought that Jiang Qin was a fake? Moreover, he had said that he just wanted to take a look at the Greenon race. However, it seemed like he was fated with them. Jiang Qin was able to retreat in the face of danger and speak the truth. This was definitely admirable. This was a true expert. Not only did Jiang Qin not take the chance to take revenge, he was even filled with respect towards the Greenon race. No matter where he was a cut above the rest. At this moment, Xianxia knew that he could not continue to tangle with Jiang Chen. No matter what his motives were, as long as the Green race acknowledged him, there was nothing more to say. In his battle with Jiang Chen he did not use his true strength. If this fella wanted to target him they would really have to meet on the battlefield. However, now was not the time. At least, he had to find the ancient beacon smoke grounds. That was the place he truly wanted to find. Mr. Jiang Chen, thank you for being so understanding. Xianxia thanks you. Xianxia looked at Jiang Chen and nodded his head slightly. Di Luo stood beside Jiang Chen as well. He had a feeling that Jiang Chen was plotting something, but he could not put his finger on it. In his eyes, Jiang Chen was still their ancestor. However, as to why he would lower his head before Xianxia, only he himself would know. Big brother Jiang Chen, why did you do this? That person is obviously a fake. Chen Lu was extremely unwilling as she transmitted a message to Jiang Chen. True and false, false and true. Who can distinguish them so clearly? False can be true, true can be false, true can be false, false can be true. Since he wants to be the ancestor of the Green race so much, then let him have it. I want to see what tricks this guy can play. Jiang Chen's gaze allowed Chen Lu to finally relax. It seemed that she had been overthinking things. Big brother Jiang Chen already had his own plans. Ancestor Xianxia, what should we do now? The reaction of the Earth Dragon clan is getting more and more intense, and our conflict is also getting more and more intense. Yurodi asked. The two races were now like fire and water, and there had been several large-scale conflicts. Kuei Star originally belonged to our Green tribe. The Earth Dragon tribe and the Ice Bear tribe rose up later. They have occupied a large portion of our territory. There are some things that we must take back with our own hands. Xianxia clenched his fist and said coldly. All these years, the people of the Green Mang race couldn't even reach the half-step cosmic cloud state due to the curse left by our ancestor. In order to break the curse, we must find the beacon smoke ancient ground left by our ancestor. Only by opening the beacon smoke ancient ground can we remove the curse. However, the beacon smoke ancient ground is an ancient battlefield on planet Kuei billions of years ago. Now it's on the side of the Earth Dragon race. Therefore we must go there to open the veil. Xianxia looked at Yurodi. However, once we cross the other side's territory, a life and death battle between us will be unavoidable. Right now, we are already in constant conflict. If the two tribes really fight, both sides will definitely suffer. Our Green tribe has no confidence in being able to defeat them. Yurodi's face was bitter. It wasn't that he didn't want to touch the curse, but the Earth Dragon race was powerful. All these years, the two races had never interfered with each other. They were one of the three major factions on the Kuei Star. Now they suddenly started a war. Yurodi really didn't know how to explain this to his race. Our Green race has been submerged for millions of years and has always been suppressed. Do you want this situation to never change for the rest of your life? Every 1,000 years, a member of the Green race will die outside. Now that the opportunity is right in front of you, don't you want it? It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You gave the command to me, but now you're hesitant and indecisive. You really disappoint me, Leader Yi. Xianxia's eyes were sharp as he stared at them. For the Green race, for the great cause, Leader, it's time for us to fight. That's right, Leader. We don't want to be trapped on the Kuei Star forever. We want to go out and see the outside world. Tribe Leader, let's do as our ancestors said. We'll fight them to the death. The Earth Dragon tribe's territory used to be ours. It's just that we've been declining in recent years. That's why they invaded it. This time we must take it back. Yes, kill them, break the curse, find the ancient land of beacon smoke, and follow the footsteps of our ancestor. More and more people had grim faces and high morale. They had been oppressed for too long and had been sealed by the curse for too long. Although the barren land of the Kuei Star was their ancestral land, it was also their nightmare. Countless people wanted to leave this place and find their own sky. However, as long as the curse wasn't broken, they couldn't leave the Kuei Star. For the sake of their freedom, for the sake of their descendants, they had to fight once more. That's right. Leader Yi, look at how energetic the young people are. You can't be conservative and stick to the old rules. That way you will never see the light. Xianxia had a serious expression. Yurodi was struggling in his heart. Once they broke through the defense line, they would enter the Earth Dragon tribe's territory and search for the ancient land of beacon smoke. Then it would be the final battle between the two tribes. If that happened, many people would die. He was the leader of the race. He had to be responsible for everyone. But now the crowd was agitated. He knew that his decision couldn't stop all of them. Alright, since the ancestor has made such a decision, we won't let you down. Under your leadership, we will definitely find the ancient land of beacon smoke and break the curse. Yi Luodi clenched his fists and said with a face full of fighting spirit. War was inevitable. If they wanted to break the curse, they would have to bleed and sacrifice. Not to mention that the territory of the Earth Dragon race used to be their territory. They didn't have any hesitation in this war. They had to fight with their lives on the line. Jiang Qin frowned. It seemed that Qin Shi wanted to incite the war between the Greenon race and the Earth Dragon race. However, the ancient land of beacon smoke he mentioned seemed to be to find something he wanted. This should be the secret he wanted, right? Chapter 5173. Jiang Qin was currently sitting on top of the mountain to watch the tigers fight. He wanted to see what kind of tricks Qin Shi had up his sleeves. His purpose in coming to the Greenon tribe was definitely not as simple as being their ancestor. He wanted to use this identity to incite a war between the two tribes. No matter what he obtained at the end of the war, it would be an absolute advantage. Moreover, the beacon smoke ancient land that he spoke of was his ultimate goal. He just didn't know what kind of existence the beacon smoke ancient land was. Right now, the morale of the Greenon tribe was greatly boosted. In Qin Shi's eyes, they were the bravest vanguard. They were also the vanguard that he had long predicted. This war was already unavoidable. Qin Shi raised everyone's enthusiasm. To them, they did not want to be sealed in the curse, and even more so, they did not want their juniors to be affected by the curse. This was because they had to end the battle quickly. As long as the curse was removed, they would be able to obtain eternal life. Back then, the Greenon clan was the greatest tragedy, because the strongest members of the younger generation were all sent out to search for their ancestors. They had always been waiting for this rare opportunity, so how could they give it up? No matter what price they had to break the curse. Because they had already lost countless seniors. Countless heroic spirits were silently watching them. At this moment, the future of the Greenon tribe had become the hope of all the Azure Monkeys. What reason did they have to resist the will of their ancestor? Although Patriarch Yi Luodi was a little hesitant at the start. After all, once the war between the two tribes started, it would definitely be a scene of rivers of blood flowing. But they had no other choice, nor could they retreat. According to the ancestor, the beacon smoke ancient land was in the territory of the Earth Dragon tribe. Would they allow them to enter their territory just like that? This was a complete joke. So this war was unavoidable. The ancestors' identity was not only to lift their curses, but also to fulfill the wish in their hearts. After so many years of longing, hope had finally arrived. How many people had rushed into the long river of history to fulfill this mission and turned into ashes? Their chance had finally arrived. At this moment, everyone was excited and their hearts were unable to calm down. Not to mention them, even Di Luo was extremely excited at this moment. That was because this curse was like a shackle in everyone's hearts, oppressing them to the point that they were unable to breathe for millions of years. If they were able to remove the curse, they were willing to pay any price, even their own lives. Even if they died, they wouldn't have died in vain because their descendants would definitely rush out of Kuei Star and wouldn't be sealed by the curse here anymore. They would be trapped here like a cage. Their hearts were imprisoned because they were afraid and longed for the outside world. Now that such an opportunity was in front of them, who wouldn't be tempted? Qin Shi had grasped their mentality because this matter was too important to them. That was why Qin Shi's status as an ancestor had many people responding to his call. His goal was also gradually being achieved. Jiang Qin retreated. This wasn't because he was afraid, but because he didn't want the people of the Greenon tribe to fall into the enemy's hands and become Qin Shi's hired thugs. No matter what happened in the future, the current Qin Shi was a complete lunatic. He only cared about his own interests and harbored unfathomable intentions. If he shed all pretense of cordiality with this guy, then he definitely wouldn't gain much. It would be better to beat him at his own game and find the ancient beacon smoke land to see what his next move was. The Earth Dragon tribe is an invader. The Earth Dragon tribe is the invader. In order to stop us from breaking the seal, they are our biggest enemy. My fellow countrymen, take up your weapons. This time we will never retreat. In order to defend our dignity for our future generations, and for our own territory, the Earth Dragon tribe is our biggest enemy. They will definitely not give up, but we are not easy to provoke either. Bring out your vigor, bring out your dominance, and follow me into battle. Only by breaking the curse of the seal can we control our own fates. The Greenon tribe will never be slaves. Qin Shi's words were very bewitching, and everyone who heard them felt their blood boiling. The Greenon tribe will never be slaves. Lobos bellowed as he followed Qin Shi's example. The Green tribe will never be slaves. Other than Jiang Qin and Qin Lu, everyone else had already sunk into a frenzy upon seeing such a stirring scene. Qin Shi glanced coldly at Jiang Qin. He simply didn't care about Jiang Qin. If he wanted to, he could kill Jiang Qin at any time. However, if he made a move now, people would definitely think that he was jealous. Moreover, he had lost in the competition just now. Although he didn't know why this guy had chosen to retreat, Qin Shi didn't let his guard down. Once he achieved his goal, he wouldn't leave anyone alive. Everyone would die. Is this guy crazy? Big brother Jiang Qin? Qin Lu whispered. This is one of Qin Shi's cleverness. He really knows how to make use of people's hearts because these people are too afraid of the curse. Only by conquering their fear can they start anew. Now that Qin Shi has given them such a chance, they will definitely charge forward with all their might. I'm afraid that many people will die in this battle. Jiang Qin said. Then what should we do? We can't just sit and wait for death, right? Didn't you say that it's to help the Green tribe overcome their crisis? Qin Lu looked at big brother Jiang Qin in surprise. Jiang Qin definitely wouldn't sit and wait for death. However, even if this battle wasn't instigated by Qin Shi, it would definitely lead to a war between the two tribes. At that time, whoever came out on top would have the last laugh. This Qin Shi would definitely spare no effort to help the Green tribe. Why would Jiang Qin interfere with such a good thing? Therefore, the most important thing for him now was to stay calm. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Unless it was a critical moment, he would definitely have to pretend to be a little sheep. Qin Shi led everyone and left this place, preparing to head towards the border between the two tribes. A great battle was already on the verge of breaking out. However, this time, the Green tribe would definitely come out on top with Qin Shi's help. At this moment, natural disasters could be said to be everywhere on the Wuxia star. Even an ordinary stellar-level expert could lose his life at any time on such a planet. Therefore, this barren land was a taboo for all interstellar wanderers. Whoever came here for no reason would be courting death. Not only were there no treasures, but they could also face the threat of death at any time. Chapter 5174. Point Star Mountain within the Western Mountain Range. 10 level 9 star level experts appeared on the mountain slope. Violent winds and heavy rain swept through the sky and earth, creating an unending storm that pressured everyone. Even level 5 star level experts did not dare to appear here easily. Otherwise, they would definitely be swept to death by the wind blades, leaving nothing behind. The surrounding elders all had solemn expressions. They did not dare to be negligent at all. They whispered among themselves, unsure of what to do. Worry flickered between their brows. The green-robed elder, who was the leader, thought it over. He looked at the only middle-aged man sitting cross-legged on the mountain slope. He said in a low voice, "Clan leader, the situation between the two races is dire. What should we do? Recently, there have already been 3 conflicts, and they were all instigated by the Green clan. There have been victories and defeats between us, but if this goes on, I don't think they will let it go. To put it bluntly, they have gone too far." The green-robed elder said indignantly. The middle-aged man's expression was calm. He slowly opened his eyes and glanced at the green-robed elder and the many clan elders. They were the cornerstones of the Earth Dragon race. Then, according to the first elder, what should we do? Pan Rulong said indifferently. I feel that we should not sit here and wait for death. We have to take the initiative and attack. Otherwise, won't the Green race just step on us and shit on us? Right now, many of the younger generations of the Earth Dragon race are extremely furious. We are all eager to try. We cannot just sit here and wait for death. They have completely ignored the agreement we made before and have started to invade our territory. If we do not retaliate, won't they treat us like pushovers? The first elder said in a low voice. The first elder is right. Do they really treat us like 3-year-olds? We originally didn't want to start a war, but they have crossed the territory of our Earth Dragon clan time and time again. Isn't it clear that they want to stir up trouble? This must be the Green race's plan. Otherwise, this would not happen. They are testing our bottom line to see if we will really fight with them. If we retreat now and give up our position, wouldn't that mean that we have completely lost the initiative? That's right, Patriarch. When has our Earth Dragon clan ever suffered such humiliation? We can't let this matter rest. One of our clansmen has already died in battle. As the ruler of Point Star Mountain, they are looking down on our Earth Dragon clan. A mountain cannot have 2 tigers. As long as the Patriarch gives the order, we will definitely not back down. That's right. Patriarch, please give the order. We swear to protect the territory of the Earth Dragon clan with our lives. We will never retreat. The Point Star Mountain is where our dignity lies. If the Point Star Mountain is lost, then the dignity of our Earth Dragon tribe will be completely lost. Tribe leader, we do not wish to start a war. However, the Greenon tribe has gone too far. If this goes on, will we still be able to survive? In the face of the enemy's powerful pursuit, we can only be stronger and more ruthless than them. If we stay passive, we will be beaten. If we choose to retreat, it will only encourage their arrogance. Many of the elders were furious. Now that the Greenon tribe had forced them to such a state, they had already lost their lives. This dispute could not be let go just like that. Back then, they had relied on their own efforts to split Point Star Mountain into two and expel the Greenon tribe. Therefore, they had always believed that they were the masters of Point Star Mountain. Now that they were being forced by the Greenon tribe, they had to retaliate. If they did not retaliate, they would only become more and more cowardly. How uncertain would the future of their Earth Dragon clan be? This time, the conflict between the two clans seemed to be irreconcilable. The 10 great elders were the true experts of the Earthly Dragon tribe. They were also the cornerstone of the tribe. Without them, the Earthly Dragon tribe would appear extremely weak. The reason why the Earthly Dragon tribe was able to develop steadily during these years was closely related to them. The Earth Dragon clan had always believed that they were the true masters of Kuei Star. However, the Greenon tribe had never shown weakness. Therefore, over the years, with Point Star Mountain as the boundary, they had lived in harmony. If this continued, it would not be a big deal. However, the dispute between the two clans was definitely not just a clash between ordinary clansmen. Now that the Greenon tribe had been forced to the front, this battle could not be ignored. The 10 great elders of the Earth Dragon clan had already made their preparations for battle. The powerful and arrogant Earth Dragon clan would not allow others to trample on them. Pan Rulong muttered to himself. His expression was cold. Although he did not want to start a war, it seemed that the many elders had already made up their minds. Their goal was not wrong. It was all for the future of the entire Earth Dragon clan. The Greenon tribe had gone too far. Time and time again they had crossed the boundary to provoke them. They had even fought. The smell of gunpowder between them was destined to become thicker and thicker. Therefore, this battle had already caused both sides to be like fire and water. As the patriarch of the Earth Dragon clan, he had signed a peace treaty with the Greenon tribe. Both sides would not disturb each other. However, he did not expect the other side to break the peace. This was the spark that would ignite the war. Once the war started, many innocent Earth Dragon clan would die. This was not what Pan Rulong wanted to see. However, the crowd was stirred up. The 10 great elders seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. They did not care about anything else. They were determined to save the face of the Earth Dragon clan. Moreover, once the Earth Dragon clan retreated, this battle was already destined. How could they give up the victory that they had won so many years ago? There will be blood and sacrifice in war. Our Earth Dragon clan had already suffered a great loss in the battle with the Greenon tribe. After so many years, if we were to have another battle of life and death, it would be very tragic. This battle would be disastrous for both sides. Don't you know that Yi Luodi is stumped? Pan Rulong murmured. He knew Yi Luodi's character. He was even more cautious than him. However, Pan Rulong did not expect that this battle would be initiated by this fellow. The strength of the two clans had only slowly recovered after so many years. If they were to fight again, it would be a purgatory. Patriarch, what are you hesitating for? We are about to be trampled on by others. The great elder said in a low voice. Rumble, an earth-shattering sound rang out above Point Star Mountain. A member of the Earth Dragon clan flew over rapidly. His face was solemn. This is bad, Patriarch. The people of the Greenon tribe have arrived. They are invading us on a large scale. It seems like they want to fight us to the death. At this moment, Pan Rulong's face was as gloomy as water. Yi Luodi, you forced me to do this. Pan Rulong growled, causing everyone's heart to tremble. Chapter 5175. Pan Rulong did not intend to fight to the death with the Greenon tribe, but the other party had taken the initiative to attack. This was intolerable. Pan Rulong had been hesitant all this time because he didn't want his clansmen to face a life-threatening crisis. Even though the 10 great elders had all come out to persuade him, he was still hesitant. However, his politeness had caused the Greenon clan to charge even more fiercely. Who could stand that? Pan Rulong had intended to negotiate with the Greenon tribe. At the very least, he wanted to find out what was going on. But now it seemed like there was no need to negotiate. The Greenon tribe had come to his doorstep. If he continued to remain silent, he would really be a coward. This battle was unavoidable. Therefore Pan Rulong could only fight to the end. With the words of the patriarch, all the elders were relieved. Even though it was only one word, kill. But this was enough to show the patriarch's determination. They had wavered before, but the Greenon tribe had gone too far. Therefore they could not just sit and wait. Under the leadership of the patriarch, Pan Rulong, they would definitely defeat the enemy. Valiant and spirited. Seems like the patriarch has really come to his senses this time. Yeah. If not for our persuasion, I'm afraid the patriarch would still choose to remain silent. Fists are the hard truth. Whoever is stronger will be able to stand firm. Didn't we snatch our territory from the Greenon tribe back then? Yes. This time we will let them know the power of our Earth Dragon tribe. Looks like they haven't learned their lesson from the painful attack back then. Follow the patriarch. Kill them all. Kill them all. The 10 elders followed behind Pan Rulong and rushed out of the valley. A great battle was imminent. No one could stay out of it. At this moment, Jiangchen was also following behind the Greenon tribe. The experts of the Greenon tribe were coming in and out. This time they wanted to wipe out the entire Earth Dragon tribe. They only had one goal: Point Star Mountain. According to what the ancestor said, the beacon smoke ancient land was in this Point Star Mountain, but they couldn't find any traces of it. Therefore, the beacon smoke ancient land was 100% on the other side, which was the territory of the Earth Dragon tribe. Although the Greenon race and the Earth Dragon race had an agreement of mutual non-aggression, this was a time that concerned the survival of their race and the future of their race. Whether or not they could break the curse depended on this one move. Their ancestors had given them hope. If they didn't seize it, it would be their own problem. Jiang Qin and Qin Lu had always been following behind them. After all, this was a matter of their Greenon tribe. Jiang Qin was just holding the attitude of sitting on the mountain and watching the tigers fight. When the time came, it would be up to him to reap the benefits. The Greenon race didn't have a half-step cosmic cloud state, but Jiang Qin could tell that their leader, Yi Luodi, wasn't easy to deal with. He was a peak star state, but he wasn't weaker than ordinary half-step cosmic cloud states. After all these years, the Greenon race couldn't break through to the cosmic cloud state, but their power was slowly changing. They reached the peak star state. They were unstoppable. Yi Luodi's power couldn't be underestimated. Ancestor Jiang Qin, do you think we can win this time? Di Luo still felt that Jiang Qin was his master and ancestor. Although this matter had been clarified by Jiang Qin's ancestor still came all the way here. This touched Di Luo a lot. It's hard to say. The Earth Dragon tribe doesn't have any mediocre members that can stand up to the Greenon tribe. They have thousands of thoughts and dominate a region. They are not to be trifled with. This time, let's see if your ancestor can turn the tide. Jiang Qin said with a smile. Our ancestor is indeed strong, but you saw ancestor Jiang Qin before. The Earth Dragon race has an innate advantage. Our Greenon race probably won't be able to gain any advantage. Jiang Qin could understand Di Luo's feelings. After all, so many years had passed. The Greenon family was a peace-loving family. However, the conflict this time would probably lead to a horrifying battle of life and death. Yi Luodi led a few hundred Stargrade experts and crushed them. Their terrifying aura swept out, and all the Earth Dragons on Point Star Mountain had no choice but to retreat. This would be their last battle. There weren't many Earth Dragons on Point Star Mountain. There were many more spread across the Kuei-Wood planet. The Greenon race was the same, but their base was here. The Earth Dragon tribe only had a few hundred people who could fight at most. This time they were facing each other with equal harshness. This battle was imminent. Yi Luodi was unstoppable. The Earth Dragon race became very cautious, because they had already gone to ask for reinforcements. These guys aren't abiding by the original agreement. They're invading us. They're trying to start a life-and-death war with our Earth Dragon race. Yeah, we've already asked our patriarch and the rest to defend Point Star Mountain. We'll never back down. Once we back down, it'll only encourage their arrogance. I'm prepared to face death with equanimity. The people of the Earth Dragon tribe also wore grim expressions. Their hearts were extremely heavy. Pan Rulong, if you don't come out, I'm going to start a massacre. Yi Luodi bellowed. His voice traveled 1,000 miles. The surrounding storm subsided gradually. However, it was still raining. It wasn't as terrifying as before, and it was quieter. It seemed like the world had quietened down because of the war between the two races. How dare you? Chapter 5176. There are some things you simply don't understand. We have no choice in this battle. Yi Rodi's face was cold. Our two tribes have coexisted peacefully for so many years. Pan Rulong, I can give you a chance. Withdraw from Point Star Mountain and I can pretend that nothing has happened. Our two tribes can still coexist peacefully. However, if you insist on staying here, we may have to fight it out. To be honest, Chief Pan, I don't want to fight with you. However, Point Star Mountain originally belonged to the Green-On tribe. I hope you won't be ungrateful and we can still coexist peacefully. Withdraw from Point Star Mountain and everything can be discussed. Yi Rodi's words could be said to be in the limelight. His original intention was not to fight with the Earth Dragon tribe. However, in the eyes of the Earth Dragon tribe's experts and Pan Rulong, these words were a blatant provocation. Who do you think you are? You want us to scram from Point Star Mountain so we have to scram? This place used to be yours, but it doesn't mean that it will forever be yours. Moreover, it is now ours. We won it through war. Do you think you can chase us away just because you say so? Don't we want our dignity? In the end, in Pan Rulong's eyes, Yi Rodi was provoking him. How could he say something like asking his people to scram from Point Star Mountain? This was even more unbearable than directly scolding him. My Earth Dragon race is an existence that can stand on equal footing with your Green-On race, yet you are so unreasonable. Moreover, you insist on starting a war. You are completely going against the gentleman's agreement from back then. Chief Yi, your conditions are really unflattering. Do you really think we are afraid of you? I didn't want to start a war. Blood will flow like a river and only the innocent will die. Unfortunately, you don't understand this logic and insist on fighting us. In that case, I can only accompany you to the end. Do you really think my Earth Dragon tribe is afraid of you? Pan Rulong's voice was indifferent, but it was very firm and unquestionable. If they backed out of Point Star Mountain, they might not suffer any losses. However, this was their territory. Once they backed out, it would be equivalent to lowering their heads to the Green-On race. This was absolutely impossible. If they lowered their heads, it would mean that they would be pressured to the point where they couldn't even breathe. At that time, the other party would definitely not let the matter rest. This was just an appetizer. They had to fight for what was right in the Battle of Point Star Mountain. Only then would they be able to stand firm. If they retreated, the outcome would be unimaginable. Who knew what the Green-On clan was planning? Although the two races had been living in harmony for many years, it didn't mean that they could live in peace. Once someone crossed the line, the war would continue until the end. Pan Rulong could retreat and there would be no bloodshed if he did. But who could guarantee that they were not trying to suppress him? They thought they were easy to bully. When the time came, they would attack again and again. That would be a fatal blow to the Earth Dragon clan. Moreover, they would feel that they couldn't raise their heads in front of the Azure Monkeys. It would cause the morale of the Earth Dragon clan to plummet. It seems that since you guys are so stubborn, I can only use my fists to settle this. Yi Rodi shook his head helplessly. In reality, this was indeed the case. He knew that asking the Earth Dragon clan to leave Point Star Mountain was not only a provocation, it was also a humiliation to the Earth Dragon clan. They would never agree to it no matter what. Qin Chi stood there calmly with a cold expression. He was fearless. This war was insignificant to him. He only wanted to find the ancient Beacon Smoke land. As for how many of them would die, it had nothing to do with him. Jiang Chen had already expected this. The war had already begun. There was no turning back. Both sides were filled with battle intent, who would be willing to retreat. No matter who was right or wrong, there was no need to argue anymore. The ending was the most important. Words are useless. Make your move, Yi Rodi. Let me see how much you've improved compared to 3,000 years ago. Pan Rulong shook his head and roared. Waves of draconic roars echoed as he approached Yi Rodi. Children of the green light race, follow me to battle. Yi Rodi roared. The few hundred green monkeys behind him also roared and attacked rapidly. The battle between the two sides instantly began. The battle between Pan Rulong and Yi Luodi was extremely intense and tragic. Pan Rulong was a half-step cosmic cloud state, but Yi Rodi's power was a peak star state a few thousand years ago. Back then the two were on par. In the end, the Earth Dragon race used a sneak attack to drive the green monkeys out of this place and split the Point Star Mountain in half. Due to this, the two races could rival each other and dominate the mountain. Being unable to break through to the cosmic cloud state was the curse of the green monkeys, but that didn't mean they were weak. In Pan Rulong's eyes, Yi Rodi wasn't just a half-step cosmic cloud state. He was infinitely close to the cosmic cloud state. It was as though there was only a thin line between the two. Yi Luodi transformed into a celestial azure monkey. His body was 300 meters tall, and he stood proudly at the peak of the mountain. This was why they were called celestial azure monkeys. Their bodies were 300 meters tall, and their bodies seemed to connect to the heavens. They were called celestial azure monkeys. The life and death battle between Pan Wulong and Yi Luodi aroused the admiration of countless people. Whether it was the azure monkeys or the earth dragons, their blood was boiling. The battle between the two sides was extremely intense. Countless people were covered in sweat and blood as they crisscrossed the mountain peaks and soared into the sky. In the dark clouds, lightning surged and the wind howled. However, on the summit of Point Star Mountain, an intense battle was still stirring the hearts of countless people. The two groups fought and the demons danced chaotically. This battle was deeply engraved in people's hearts, but it also bore the anger of the two races. Everyone wanted to dominate one side and suppress the other side. But it was precisely because of this that no one was willing to submit to the other. Therefore, the Point Star Mountain became the high ground that the two clans fought for. There were extraordinary resources on the Point Star Mountain. On the storm-ridden Kuei-Wood Star, a treasure land was destined to be the object of competition between the two clans. Moreover, the Genesis Chi on the Point Star Mountain was one of the richest places on the entire Kuei-Wood Star. It was no wonder that it had become a place that both clans fought for. Yi Rodi's huge figure blotted out the sun and the sky. He was unstoppable. Punch after punch smashed the void, making everyone feel as though they were facing a great enemy. Pan Wulong roared non-stop. The two fought for a long time, but it was hard to determine a winner. The battle was getting more and more intense. It had entered a white-hot state. You want to pass me? Go back and cultivate for another 10,000 years. Ah. Pan Wulong would not stop until he was dead. He did not retreat. His huge dragon head was raised high and domineering. Although Yi Rodi was very strong and was a peak star warrior, it was difficult for him to break through Pan Wulong's defense. Both sides were in a stalemate. The situation was very difficult. If this continued, both sides would definitely suffer. Chapter 5177. This can't go on. Brother Jiangchen, should we join in? Chen Lu looked at Jiangchen and asked. The intense battle between the two of them had reached the point where only one of them could survive. At this moment, both of them were constantly consuming each other's combat strength. None of them could guarantee that they would be able to suppress the other. Let's wait and see. Some people probably can't hold it in anymore. Jiangchen smiled. There was another person who hadn't joined in yet, and that was Qinchi. Qinchi was probably more anxious than them because he desperately wanted to find the beacon smoke ancient land. He couldn't wait any longer. Clan leader Yi, it seems that your strength is truly worrying. Let me lend you a hand. Qinchi bellowed. At this moment he finally joined the battle. Right now, Qinchi only wanted to chase the Earth Dragon tribe out of this place. Exterminating the tribe and killing them would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Even if he could kill them, it would be a heavy blow to the enemy and a heavy blow to himself. However, at that time the Greenon tribe would be almost wiped out. Would he still have confidence in himself? As the ancestor of the Green Light race, it was the right time for him to join in. When the Green Light race was in dire straits, he would be the real savior. Qinchi grabbed the perfect opportunity. They needed a brave and fearless savior, and Qinchi happened to be here. After Qinchi finished speaking, he threw himself into the battle. He pointed his long spear at Pan Wulong. Shoot the horse first, capture the leader first. If he teamed up with Yi Luodi and captured Pan Wulong, then the scales of victory would tilt towards them. Pan Wulong's heart sunk. With this half-step cosmic cloud state joining in, it would be a huge pressure on them. The combination of Yi Luodi and Qinchi was completely unstoppable. Pan Wulong became more and more passive. It was like two half-step cosmic cloud states against him. This powerful pressure was the core of Pan Wulong's defeat. After attacking for a long time, they had sunk into a bitter battle. The battle strength of both sides had become more and more difficult. There were even some casualties. The battle intent in their hearts had soared to the peak. Even if there were people continuously falling, they were not afraid. However, Pan Wulong was the patriarch. He couldn't just watch as everyone was sacrificed. As the leader of the Earth Dragon tribe, he had to be responsible for every member of the Earth Dragon tribe. Most importantly, he was already showing signs of exhaustion. He had completely lost the initiative and became very passive. Fighting 1 against 2, his body was already showing signs of exhaustion. He could still deal with them for a short period of time, but he was also exhausted from running for his life. However, if they were to fight for a long time, his defeat was already destined. Who was this person? A half-step cosmic cloud state power. Rudy felt like he had the help of God. That was why he fell into deep despair. The longer it took, the more casualties they suffered, and the more difficult their situation became. It seemed like the people of the Greenon clan had already made their preparations. Otherwise, how could they be so calm? This was especially true for the person beside Rody, who single-handedly secured the victory, leaving them with nowhere to escape. Although they could heavily injure the Greenon race, it wasn't worth it. They might be completely annihilated. Pan Rulong was hesitant. He knew that it was time to retreat. He couldn't continue fighting. If they kept fighting, they would only be asking for trouble. They couldn't beat the Greenon race at all. This time, the Greenon race clearly came prepared and had such a powerful helper. That was why they were able to stand out and put them in a passive position. From the start, Pan Rulong didn't want to fight the Greenon race, but they were too despicable. Hence he had no choice but to fight them. Up until now, the Green Light race's combat power still couldn't be underestimated. Now they were fighting in a hurry. In addition, they had a half-step cosmic cloud state helper. Pan Rulong was under immense pressure. A wise man submits to circumstances. If he retreated now, he could still preserve his strength. But if he stubbornly persisted and fought them to the death, he might die 9 times out of 10. So many experts and geniuses of the Earth Dragon clan would lose their lives here. This made Pan Rulong very depressed. They had been caught off guard and could not blame anyone. They could only say that they had been too careless. They had mistakenly thought that the Greenon tribe would abide by their gentleman's agreement. However, the Greenon tribe had unilaterally broken the agreement. There was no longer any meaning in that. Avoid the sharp edge. Where there is life, there is hope. Pan Rulong kept retreating. He wanted to retreat. Fighting to the death wouldn't benefit them at all. Cleaning up the territory and planning for the next step was what he should do as the leader. Everyone retreat. Retreat. Pan Rulong's roar was deafening. At this moment, some of the Earth Dragons were unwilling to give up and wanted to continue fighting. Seeing their friends and family fall beside them, they felt incomparable pain in their hearts. However, Pan Rulong's prestige was still very high. No one dared to disobey his orders. They weren't dumb. Since the leader gave such an order, it meant that they had completely lost the initiative. If they continued fighting, they would only be humiliating themselves. Everyone followed Pan Rulong's footsteps and retreated rapidly. The Greenon race rejoiced. Yiluadi, I admit defeat this time, but let's wait and see. I will repay today's humiliation sooner or later. Pan Rulong roared. His heart was filled with unwillingness, but for the safety of his race, he could only retreat and give up Point Star Mountain. Invincible. 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 There was a deafening roar as Pan Rulong disappeared from Point Star Mountain like a stray dog. Don't chase a cornered enemy. These people aren't worth risking our lives to kill. Since they have run away, let them be. Rody said in a low voice. He knew that even if he suppressed Pan Rulong and the others, it would be impossible for him to kill them all. After all, the difference in strength between them wasn't that big. If he gave the order to kill them all, the final outcome would be unimaginable. Thank you, Ancestor. Fortunately, we had your help. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to defeat the Earth Dragon tribe so easily. Yiluadi bowed slightly, his face full of respect. Xianxia nodded slightly, feeling delighted. Since the Earth Dragon tribe had run away, Point Star Mountain would be their territory. Chapter 5178. Xianxia nodded slightly. His eyes were filled with excitement. This time he could finally find the ancient Beacon Smoke Land. Now that the Earth Dragon tribe had been defeated and had retreated from Point Star Mountain, they were the masters here. Xianxia's goal was about to be achieved. The ancient Beacon Smoke Land must be here. He had searched all the territories of the Greenon tribe but couldn't find it. According to the ancient records he had obtained, the ancient Beacon Smoke Land was in Point Star Mountain. This was an ancient battlefield left behind by the war god, and it was recorded in the ancient records. This was what Xianxia had been searching for all this time, and it was also his hope for the Kuewood Star. Once he found the ancient Beacon Smoke Land, he would definitely be able to obtain the legendary treasure. Even if he had a slim chance of survival, he would never retreat. Jiang Qin had been observing silently. Now that Xianxia was in the limelight, there was no need for him to provoke him. Moreover, Jiang Qin just wanted to see what Xianxia was up to. To the people of the Greenon clan, Xianxia was like a savior. After chasing away the Earth Dragon clan, their morale had risen greatly. These people had placed all their hopes on Xianxia. Only Xianxia could help them remove their curses. This was what they yearned for in their hearts. What should we do now? Ancestor, just give the order. We will listen to your arrangements. Lobo said excitedly. The good days of the Greenon tribe were about to arrive. Yes, we will listen to the arrangements of the ancestor. The ancestor will be with us. The ancestor will be with us. These days the green monkey did not doubt Xianxia at all. This was because Jiang Chen had already given up on his initial decision and did not plan to get involved. He just wanted to be a quiet, handsome man and wait for his opportunity. He was not a savior. He had never thought that he could help the Greenon tribe escape from the abyss of misery with his own strength. Jiang Chen had his own selfish motives. Just like Xianxia, it was hard to say who was right and who was wrong. Jiang Chen had never been a benevolent person for 10 lifetimes, and he would never boast of himself. However, he would definitely do his best to help the Greenon tribe. However, Jiang Chen still wanted to obtain the power of the stars in this place. Regardless of whether there was a star core or not, he had to make a trip to this place. This was probably the place where Senior Longfoot had passed through in the past. Jiang Chen knew that it wouldn't be long before everything would be solved. This Xianxia clearly had many things on him that he didn't know, so Jiang Chen had been waiting for an opportunity. If that's the case, I'm indebted to everyone's trust in me. From now on, we will search for the ancient beacon smoke grounds. I will reward whoever finds it. Xianxia's face was solemn and his voice was full of emotion. As the current spiritual leader of the Greenon tribe, even Patriarch Yirodi did not seem as convincing as him. I will point out the direction for everyone. I'll leave the rest to you all. Xianxia waved his arm and pointed forward. All the members of the Greenon tribe were excited and excited. Victory was right in front of them. With their ancestor leading them, what was there to be afraid of? Seeing more and more members of the Greenon tribe joining the search for the ancient beacon smoke grounds, Xianxia's eyes became more and more gratified. Ancestor, can the legendary ancient beacon smoke grounds really help us break the seal? Yirodi asked solemnly. Are you doubting me? Xianxia coldly looked at Yirodi. No. Ancestor, please calm down. That's not what I meant. Yirodi hurriedly said. Right now, everyone is full of confidence. Only you have doubts about me. Isn't this shaking the morale of the army? Patriarchy, I know it's good that you're cautious, but for the sake of our Greenon tribe, I've been worried to death. How can I feel at ease when you say this? Is it wrong for me to sacrifice everything for the Greenon tribe and offend the Earth Dragon tribe? You've really disappointed me. Xianxia pretended to be pained. He shook his head, his eyes extremely cold. Ancestor, please don't blame me. I'm just a little nervous. All these years, our Greenon tribe has been tormented. This time, with Ancestor here, we will definitely be able to break the curse. Yirodi clasped his hands together, showing his respect to Xianxia. At this time, he, the patriarch, was no longer able to shake Xianxia's position. Moreover, everyone's enthusiasm was soaring. Yirodi was just a little worried. He did not dare to go against Xianxia once he incurred the wrath of the masses. Even if he was the patriarch, he would be spurned by the tribe. This time all of their hopes rested on Xianxia. Let's go. We'll go search as well. Jiang Chen looked at Qianlu with a smile on his face. At least he needed to put on an act so that Xianxia wouldn't notice him. Qianlu shrugged. It seemed that big brother Jiang Chen was really broad-minded. He was not worried at all about Xianxia's actions. Right now, the most important thing was to deal with the myriad of changes. Time ticked by. Finally, on the evening of the second day, someone found a bottomless hole. To everyone, this news was extremely exciting. Xianxia did not say anything and quickly rushed to the hole under Point Star Mountain. This hole was found in the middle of a deep abyss. It was very well hidden and almost impossible to find. However, to the Greenlight tribe, no matter where they went, they would not overlook a single place. Thus they finally found this hole. Xianxia stood at the entrance of the hole with his eyes closed. He took deep breaths. After a long while, his eyes gradually heated up. It's here. The battlefield of the ancient beacon smoke land. It can't be wrong. Everyone prepare yourselves. Follow me to the ancient beacon smoke land. In ancient times, the war god War left behind a curse that caused our Greenon tribe to suffer unspeakably. For millions of years, the people had no way to live. This time, I must enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and seek justice for our Greenon tribe. Xianxia walked in the front, and the rest of the Greenon tribe followed closely behind. They followed Ancestor Xianxia to explore the ancient beacon smoke land. Ancestor Jiang Chen, we will be able to break the curse soon. Ah, I'm so happy. Di Luo was very excited as he said with a serious face. They had been waiting for this day. Today they could finally change their history. The Green tribe was finally going to break free from the shackles of time. Yeah, I hope we can help you break the curse. Let's go in and take a look first, Jiang Qin said with a smile. He followed the group and quickly entered the hole in the abyss. Qin Shi took the lead. One could imagine how impatient he was. He was even more excited than the Green tribe. Chapter 5179. After entering the abyss, Jiang Chen's ears were finally a lot quieter. Because when he was on the Point Star Mountain, it was raining non-stop and it was hard to hear the surrounding sounds clearly. The thunderstorm on the surface of the Kuei Jupiter star was simply a disaster. That was why only the three great races could survive here. This abyss seemed to be very big. It was dozens of meters wide and extended all the way to the bottom of the earth. When Jiang Qin passed by here, he was also quite puzzled. They had dived for 100,000 meters before they reached the end of the abyss. The surrounding stone walls were full of potholes. It didn't seem to be man-made. The deeper they went, the more they could see how deep the abyss was. There were even red marks on it. The red stones were more than 10,000 meters deep. When Qin Shi and the others arrived at this place, they discovered that it was an underground lava field. As far as the eye could see, the surrounding space was extremely vast. However, this place wasn't dark, just a bit dusky. The rock wall above their heads was tens of meters high. The highest point was over 100 meters high. From the looks of it, it looked like an unimaginable public square. No, it shouldn't be a square because this place was really too big. It was hard to fathom. A square wasn't enough to describe the size of this place. There was a light breeze blowing on their cheeks. The red stones above their heads were the same as the red stones in the abyss. It almost illuminated the entire underground space. What is this place? Isn't it too big? It's really hard to imagine that there's such an earth-shattering space. Yeah, this can't be the legendary ancient Beacon Smoke land, right? Ancestor, please say something. What is this place? Are we looking for the right place? Countless people looked left and right anxiously. Jiang Qin looked around and nodded slightly in his heart. It seemed that this should be the ancient land of Beacon Smoke that Qin Shi was looking for. The space here was extremely oppressive. Although it was very big, the void of dozens of meters could fall at any time. If they hit the ground, they would be crushed. This feeling was suffocating. It was also what Jiang Qin was worried about. However, it seemed that he was just worrying for nothing. Qin Shi's eyes were silent as he nodded heavily. This is the ancient land of Beacon Smoke. Ah, ancient land of Beacon Smoke, I finally found you. Qin Shi's excitement was beyond words. He was even crazier than the people of the Green Dawn tribe. The ancient place of Beacon Smoke was the battlefield of the ancient era. Here, records of the peerless experts of the ancient era that caused everyone to tremble in fear were recorded. Countless wise sages fell here. Wherever the beacons passed, there was no one left. This is the so-called ancient place of Beacon Smoke. No one left this place alive. These people couldn't have just died. If they had died tens of thousands of years ago, how could they still be alive? The wind here was very slow and light. However, Jiang Qin was sure that there was definitely the sound of wind blowing. There's more here. There's a bull here. It's too big. It must be Tenjiang, right? More and more people discovered this place. Even the beasts were discovered. The terrain here was undulating. However, many people might have been buried in the sand. The surrounding ancient trees were all green. They seemed to have maintained the style of the past. The wind and sand were still blowing silently as if there was no wind at all. Jiang Qin touched the dead person. It was indeed cold. This person's skin was good. Even though he had been dead for so long, there were no signs of corrosion. This place seems to be a very strange place. Jiang Qin murmured. Looking at this place, the wheels were rolling. Although the flames of war were no longer there, the corpses of the demonic beasts were a reminder to the people that there was once a terrifying war here. Chapter 5180. Jiang Qin was extremely cautious. Even he couldn't figure out what was going on right now. However, it was better to be safe than sorry. Since he had no other choice, he would just have to face it head-on. Jiang Qin was extremely cautious. At least, Jiang Qin did not need to worry about being the vanguard. No matter if it was Qin Shi or the Green Mane tribe, everything would be arranged. Right now, he was just the weakest existence. No one would care about him. It was Qin Lu's first time seeing brother Jiang Qin so carefree. He was not worried at all. This was even better. They could sit on the fishing platform and see what tricks Qin Shi had up his sleeves. Brother Jiang Qin, do you think these people are the war gods of the antiquity time? What kind of existences are they? Qianlu asked curiously. It's hard to say. These people's skin is so fragile that it looks like they just died. However, their corpses have already been corroded for 50 years. Normally, even the great figures of the 9 heavens 10 earths can't guarantee that their corpses won't be destroyed even after millions of years. That's why I said that this place is very strange. Jiangchen pondered. His eyes became more and more doubtful. No one knew what had happened here. However, Jiangchen was sure that this was the ancient battlefield that Qinchi was looking for, the ancient place of beacon smoke. However, he did not know why something like this would happen. Then we'd better obediently stay behind them. Qianlu stuck out her tongue. She was worried that there would be something bad here. However, this was exactly what Qinchi was looking for. The ancient place of beacon smoke was an ancient battlefield from millions of years ago. Perhaps only Qinchi knew what kind of secrets it had. Let's wait and see. Don't make a move unless it's absolutely necessary. Jiangchen said in a low voice. Everyone pay attention. This is the ancient beacon smoke land we're looking for. We're already here. We're looking for the location of the ancient beacon smoke city. There's a blood sacrificial heaven altar there. That's where your curse is. Find the blood sacrificial heaven altar and I'll be able to help you break the curse. Qinchi raised his arms and shouted, his eyes filled with unprecedented excitement. At this time it was not far from his great cause, so he had to do it in one go. As long as he found what he wanted, then no one could stop his rise. Qinchi took the lead, charging at the very front, increasing everyone's confidence even more. Ancestor Qinchi was already so brave and fearless, so what do we have to be afraid of? That's right, let's follow the ancestors' footsteps. We must find the blood sacrifice heaven altar. Under the guidance of our ancestor, we will definitely be able to overcome all difficulties and remove the curse. Everyone work hard and find the blood sacrifice heaven altar. Charge. All the members of the Greenon tribe seemed to have lost their minds. They seemed to have found the key to heaven. Perhaps it was because they had been depressed for too long that they were in despair. They had found hope in despair, and that was why they were in such a hysterical state. Diluo was no exception. He also joined the crowd and began to spread out to search for the beacon smoke ancient city. It didn't seem difficult to find an ancient city in this piece of land, but no one knew exactly how big this ancient battlefield was. After an unknown amount of time, everyone's efforts were in vain. They simply could not find the remains of the ancient beacon smoke city. At this time, Qinchi was also a little exasperated, and his face was frighteningly gloomy. However, after searching for a long time, they still could not find it. They did not know where this so-called ancient beacon smoke city was, and they did not know when they would find the blood sacrifice heaven altar. Jiangchen walked forward step by step, also constantly searching for the remains of the ancient city. However, besides the yellow sand and some corpses, there was nothing else. There was not even a trace of the ancient beacon smoke city. Strange. Could it be that everything Qinchi said was false? Jiangchen frowned. It shouldn't be. If what he said was false, then he wouldn't have spent so much effort to come here. He was also dumbfounded and angry. After searching for a long time, he still could not find the ancient beacon smoke city. Clearly he was more anxious than anyone else. Jiangchen searched for a long time without any results. At this time Qianlu frowned. Brother Jiangchen, look at the yellow sand. It's all blown down from the sky. If the yellow sand isn't blown down from the sky, then it should be from the ground, right? Jiangchen smiled. However, when he looked up at the sky, he saw that the area dozens of meters above was completely blocked by rocks. In other words, it was all rocks above, and the rocks had become the dome of the ancient battlefield. No, it's not rocks above, it's an ancient city. The ancient city is above. The smile on Jiangchen's face gradually disappeared. He discovered that there was a city above the dome, a city that was hanging upside down in the sky. If one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be able to see it. Jiangchen's eyes kept changing and he finally found some clues. The yellow sand had indeed drifted down from above, and the yellow sand seemed to have been embedded in the ground at first, and only gradually fell under the gentle breeze. Otherwise, why would the yellow sand be floating down from the sky? And the corpses on the ground might have fallen from the sky, which was why they were floating on the ground. Even when the yellow sand blew away, there were no signs of them being buried. The ancient city is above us, Jiangchen said in a low voice. At this time, everyone looked up. Where is the ancient city? You're clearly spouting nonsense. Yeah, why don't I see it? You're talking nonsense here. Exactly. I really don't know why Diluo brought him back. It's impossible for him to contribute anything to our Greenon tribe. If you keep talking nonsense, we'll chase you out of the Greenon tribe. This is our territory and you're our unlucky star. If not for you, perhaps we would have found the ancient beacon smoke grounds long ago." Facing the doubts of the crowd, Jiang Qin didn't refute. He frowned and sneered. Even Qin Shi was sitting on the mountain to watch the tigers fight. It was difficult for him to chase Jiang Qin out of the Greenon tribe. However, if everyone had a bad impression of him and wanted to chase him out of the Greenon tribe's territory, then it would be understandable. Although he didn't think much of Jiang Qin, it was better for this rat to scram far away. Jiang Qin didn't care. "Since you guys don't know what's good for you, then I'll show you where the ancient city is now." Eternal Immortal Wind. Chapter 5181. At this point, even Qinlu was a little hesitant. She did not know what to do. Did Big Brother Jiang Qin really discover this ancient ruins? Standing behind Big Brother Jiang Qin, as long as there was a hint of hesitation, she would not hesitate to strike. She would fight to the death with Big Brother Jiang Qin, and would not allow anyone to harm Big Brother Jiang Qin. Everyone be on your guard. This Jiang Qin is harboring evil intentions. We must be careful. Get into formation. The Greenon tribe will never be slaves. Prepare for battle. The people of the Greenon tribe were all prepared for battle. However, at this point, the yellow sand gradually receded, and the sky became clear again. However, the people of the Greenon tribe were all covered in dust. Some of them were even half buried in the yellow sand. Looking at their pathetic state, Qinlu could not help but laugh. These people were a bunch of idiots. "Now raise your heads and see who is the one deceiving themselves," Jiang Qin said calmly. All the people of the Greenon tribe were dumbfounded. They exchanged glances and realized that Jiang Qin did not attack them. Instead, he stood far away and stared at them in silence. The people of the Greenon tribe seemed to feel a little awkward. Jiang Qin did not attack at all. Instead, they were the ones who were panicking and almost attacked Jiang Qin. "Guys, look. It seems like there really is a city above our heads." That's right. It's definitely an ancient city. But why would it appear above our heads?" "That's right. Seems like we've wronged Mr. Jiang Qin. This really shouldn't have happened. We've sinned." The outline of the city could be seen clearly. It was only now that Jiang Qin realized that the smoke beacon ancient city that they had been searching for so long was right above their heads. As expected, the ancient ruins that they had been searching for were right above their heads. "Big Brother Jiang Qin, you're really amazing," Qinlu said excitedly. Everyone had an excited smile on their faces. "Little friend Jiang Qin, you really have a keen eye." Yi Rodi nodded his head slightly. Jiang Qin's strength wasn't bad. If he could help the Greenon tribe, it could be considered as a good fortune for the Greenon tribe. It's all thanks to Mr. Jiang Qin. Indeed, if it weren't for Mr. Jiang Qin, who knows how long we would have to wait before we could complete Beacon Smoke Ancient City. Good fortune, this is truly a great fortune. At this moment, the attitude of the people of the Greenon tribe towards Jiang Qin underwent a 180-degree change. They completely treated Jiang Qin as their savior. If not for the fact that their ancestors were here, they would have treated Jiang Qin like a god. The ugly face from before had also disappeared in an instant, without a trace. Qinlu couldn't help feeling emotional. This was the fickleness of the world. Everyone's face was different. But luckily they finally found Smoke Beacon Ancient City. However, this ancient city was right in the sky above them. Everyone was extremely nervous and did not know what to do. However, that clear silhouette had everyone filled with joy. Since they had found Beacon Smoke Ancient City, it would probably be quite some time before they were released from the curse. With this, they could finally be free from the curse that had plagued them for thousands of years. No one would have to die searching for their ancestors anymore. Hope was right in front of them. Who wouldn't be excited? Qinchi was extremely surprised. To think that this Jiang Qin had become his helper. If not for him, how long more would they have to search before they could find this legendary Beacon Smoke Ancient City? But to let this fella steal the limelight was truly despicable. He must find a chance to get rid of him. But right now the most important thing was to find Beacon Smoke Ancient City. As for this fella Jiang Qin, it wouldn't be too late to deal with him in the future. Since we've found Beacon Smoke Ancient City, let's not waste any more time. Let's head to the ancient city to take a look first. Qinchi pretended to be calm. However, at this moment he was extremely excited. The ancient city was found. His dream was one step closer. Jiang Qin's heart was extremely cold. It seemed that this Qinchi truly hated him and wanted to kill him whenever he had the chance. Now that he had found Beacon Smoke Ancient City, he chose to remain silent without saying a word. However, at this moment, everyone was unable to control their excitement. An incomparably loud sound suddenly resounded in the sky. This loud sound lasted for a very long time, causing everyone's hearts to become incomparably excited. Their faces were filled with shock. What is going on? It's like the sky is collapsing. We won't be buried here, right? Yeah, what should we do? Why don't we quickly leave this place? This beacon smoke ancient land is too strange. Giving up halfway will not lead to great things. Our victory is right in front of us, how can we retreat? A series of roars came from the crowd, but there were also sounds of fear. After all, the entire ancient land of beacon smoke was shaking, giving people a great pressure. If the entire beacon smoke ancient city were to fall, all of them would not be able to escape death. It's all Jiang Chen's fault. If he didn't create this demonic wind, would beacon smoke ancient city be on the verge of collapsing? Yeah, I didn't expect this. We treated him as our senior, yet he tricked us like this. This is intolerable. Patriarch, this Jiang Chen has evil intentions. He's the jinx of our Green On clan. If we don't get rid of this person, we won't be able to quench our hatred. He wants to send all of us to a Vici hell. Jiang Chen turned a deaf ear to them. These people were just a bunch of fence-sitters. However, at this moment, Jiang Chen also discovered a clue. The sky didn't seem like it was going to fall. Instead, there was a commotion happening underground. The commotion was getting louder and louder. That was why they thought that the sky was going to collapse. Big brother Jiang Chen, what should we do? Are we still going with them? Qin Lu asked in a low voice. At this moment, they seemed to have become the target of everyone. Don't worry, we won't die. Before long, these people will shut their mouths again. Either they're all dead or they'll be reborn. Jiang Chen's voice was calm without any hesitation. He had already seen through these people. Qin Chi was also cautiously looking at his surroundings. His face was grim. Everyone was panicking in the face of the undulating earth and mountains. Finally, an earth-shattering reversal of the heavenly dipper made everyone hold their breaths. The huge ancient battlefield actually had a 180-degree turn at this moment. Like a wheel, beacon smoke ancient city gradually turned to the bottom, and the ground that they were originally standing on had already started to turn, turning to the top of their heads. Chapter 5182. At this moment, the sandstorm blew past once again, brushing past everyone's cheeks and falling from the sky. It was as if nothing had happened. However, everyone's faces were filled with astonishment. Everything seemed like a dream. Never in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that this world would have a 180-degree reversal. Everyone was in disbelief. The ancient city before them was filled with simplicity and simplicity. However, there was no longer any wind or sand in the area. What's wrong with us? What's going on? Is this the Smoky Beacon Ancient City? Who knows? But it seems like we really found the Smoky Beacon Ancient City. Is everyone alright? Damn it, I almost fell to my death. Yeah. Fortunately, it was a close call. Phew, everyone looked at each other and heaved a sigh of relief. After all, they were fine. Moreover, they found the Smoky Beacon Ancient City. This was their biggest reward. It's all your fault. Jiang Chen, did you know that the Smoky Beacon Ancient City would turn around? It's really too hateful to make us so worried. Lobos glared at Jiang Chen. Yeah, you were just messing with us on purpose, weren't you? Damn it. If you had said it earlier, we would have been prepared. Wouldn't it have been better? Now that we're covered in dust and almost scared to death, you should be happy now, right? The human heart is unpredictable. Seems like we've underestimated this fella. Shameless Tui. I think he just wants to see us make a fool of ourselves. More and more people gathered around Lobos. Qin Lu had not expected that not only were they not grateful to Big Brother Jiang Chen, but they were also targeting Big Brother Jiang Chen. How could there be such unreasonable people in this world? This group of people were completely barbarians. Are you guys even reasonable? If not for Big Brother Jiang Chen, would you guys have found the Smoky Beacon Ancient City? Now you're pushing all the blame to Big Brother Jiang Chen. You guys are too shameless. Is this repaying kindness with enmity exclusive to the Green On tribe? Qin Lu said disdainfully, instantly enraging many people from the Green On tribe. All of you shut up. A bunch of people who don't know what's good for them. Do you still have any shame? Do you really want to distort the truth and sow discord? Yi Luodi stood up at this time. What Jiang Chen didn't expect was that Yi Luodi would actually stand on his side, which was very rare. If it wasn't for little friend Jiang Chen, even if you search for the end of the world, you still wouldn't be able to find Smoke Beacon Ancient City. Now that you've found it, not only are you not grateful to him, you even want to point your finger at him. Doesn't your conscience hurt? If not for the fact that this is a critical period, I would definitely not let you bastards off. When did our Green-On clan become so indiscriminate? Yi Rodi's words caused many people to lower their heads, their faces flushed red. However, Jiang Qin could see that some of them were still filled with resentment towards him. These people were like untamed wolf cubs. In their eyes, even breathing was wrong. They only had ancestor Qin in their eyes. They wouldn't put anyone else in their eyes. Not to mention Jiang Qin, even the patriarch Yi Luodi's status was greatly threatened by these people. Jiang Qin didn't dare to say anything. This time it's all thanks to you, little friend Jiang Qin. Otherwise, I really don't know when we would be able to find this smoke beacon ancient city. Yi Luodi said with a smile. Don't worry, it's nothing. Jiang Qin said faintly. Let's go. Since we've found smoke beacon ancient city, let's quickly go in and take a look. Qin Chi said in a low voice. He glanced at Jiang Qin, but there was no gratitude in his eyes. Instead, there was a hint of tit for tat. Jiang Qin couldn't be bothered to lower himself to his level. Anyway, his current goal was to wait for them to make a move and reap the spoils later. This Lobos was making things difficult for him and couldn't differentiate between right and wrong. It was most likely instigated by Qin Chi after all. He was the one who found Qin Chi, therefore, the two of them were in the same boat. There was nothing much to say. Smoke Beacon Ancient City was huge and shocking. Even Jiang Qin was very emotional. This huge ancient city was now revealed in front of them. The surroundings were horizontal and vertical. Although the domineering style of the ancient city was no longer there, and only countless broken walls were left, one could tell that this was definitely a terrifying ancient city. Looking from afar, it looked like a real dragon that was entrenched on the ground. The people of the Green-On clan didn't continue to struggle and quickly followed Qin Chi into the ancient city. I'm sorry, Ancestor Jiang Qin. Our people of the Green-On clan might have been too anxious. That's why they spoke so harshly to you. They're usually very kind. This time, it's all thanks to you. Di Luo said with a face full of shame. He was still supporting Jiang Qin as always. He was both excited and at a loss for Jiang Qin to be able to find Smoke Beacon Ancient City. It's fine. Let's go. Don't let them think that you don't fit in with the group again. Jiang Qin waved his hand and followed behind the group as they entered Smoke Beacon Ancient City. Jiang Qin raised his head and glanced at the sky. This place should be an extremely powerful underground magnetic field. Both sides were mutually repelling. Only through great means or through the passage of time would this Smoke Beacon Ancient City rotate. However, Jiang Qin was still very shocked. Jiang Qin surveyed his surroundings. He had a feeling that this place was like a bloody mouth, giving him a very stifling feeling. Qin Chi glanced at Jiang Qin. This guy had some tricks up his sleeve. His only goal now was to quickly find what he wanted after finding Smoke Beacon Ancient City. The group quickly entered the ancient city. All of them were filled with anticipation. Everyone split up and searched for the altar. As long as we find it, we will be able to find the place to break the curse. Remember, if anything strange happens, inform me immediately. Qin Chi waved his hand and ordered everyone to scatter like birds and beasts. They began to spread out in the ancient city, searching for the so-called altar. It's still our ancestor Qin Chi. Once we find the altar, we will be able to break the curse. Just thinking about it makes me excited. That's right. That Jiang Qin doesn't know what's good for him. Without Ancestor Qin Chi, we wouldn't be able to come here. Right now, Ancestor Qin Chi is our backbone. Even the Patriarch can't order us around. That's right, well said. At this time we have to stick together. Following Ancestor Qin Chi is definitely the right choice. I'm really too smart. All of you, remember, Ancestor Qin Chi is our highest leader. If the Patriarch still wants to sing a different tune from Ancestor Qin Chi, we must cut off Ancestor Qin Chi's side. Jiang Qin sighed incomparably. This group of people had already become Qin Chi's minions. They were completely brainwashed by Qin Chi. They didn't even put their Patriarch in their eyes. Looks like the pressure this curse exerted on them was extremely great. They only had a single thought in their hearts now, and it was to remove the curse as soon as possible and flee far away. They didn't want to continue suffering on Kuei Tree Star, and they wanted to charge bravely to the ends of the world. Chapter 5183. What a huge footprint. How big is that person? Yeah, it's my first time seeing such a huge footprint. Even the demonic beasts of the Earth Dragon clan wouldn't have such a huge footprint. That's true. Could there have been an earth-shattering giant here in the past? I've never heard of it. I've read many ancient books of our Greenon clan, but I've never heard of such a huge giant before. Perhaps this is an ancient city, a relic of another human civilization before us. Before we appeared, they had already disappeared. Many people fell into silence. Perhaps it was true. The smoke beacon ancient city had already disappeared when they appeared on the wuxialover star. Now all they could find was the relic of the smoke beacon ancient city. As for the scattered branches and the huge ancient city, it wasn't something they could verify. This footprint is more than 300 feet wide. This giant is unimaginable. Seems like a part of the ancient city relic was destroyed by this footprint. Yi Luodi said with a frown. I've heard that the giant clan used to exist in the wuxialover star. Looking at the destruction of this city, it should have been destroyed by the giants. There are many humans around, all of them died unnaturally. Seems like there was a real life and death battle here. Xianxia said faintly. His face was calm as if he was high up in the mountains and knew this place very well. Ancestor Xianxia is right. Of course. As the ancestor of our Greenon clan, Ancestor Xianxia must know about the historical relic of the wuxialover star. There's no doubt about that. Ancestor Xianxia, just say it. We won't say a word about what we should do. Everyone started to admire Xianxia again and praised him. The main city is right in front. Let's cross this place first. Xianxia said. Ancestor Xianxia, I found an open-air plaza up ahead. There are many statues there. Could it be the sacrificial ground that you mentioned? Someone rushed to Xianxia and said excitedly. Xianxia's eyes moved as he looked into the distance. Let's go. After saying that, Xianxia rushed forward without stopping, with Jianghu following closely behind. For the people of the Greenon clan, cheers rang out incessantly. Now that they had found the sacrificial ground, it was equivalent to them being completely freed. A group of people swarmed over, flying through the ancient city, following Xianxia's footsteps, rushing towards the plaza the Azure Monkey spoke of. In the blink of an eye, everyone had rushed to the huge plaza. It was 1,000 meters wide and they crowded around it. Rather than calling it a city within a city, it would be more accurate to call it a coliseum. Moreover, it was extremely tall and huge. This was also the reason why they had not seen it before. In the middle of the huge square, there was a circular stone platform. The stone platform was dozens of meters tall, and there were hundreds of stone steps. Around it there were 9 ferocious-looking humanoid statues. On the stone platform there was a stone table and 9 stone chairs. There was a pillar at the center of the stone platform. Looking at it from afar, it was as if a sword was pointing at the heavens. It's here. Xianxia's face was incomparably flushed as he muttered to himself. Xianxia walked forward step by step. However, before he had gone more than a few meters, he saw that the sand under the ground was actually shaking. The sand began to sink, causing everyone to instinctively retreat. Swoosh, 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 an ear-piercing sound rang out, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. Jianghu's eyes turned cold. He saw that under the sand there were many giant scorpions. Each scorpion was more than a meter long, looking very majestic. Moreover, the scorpion's tail was very long, like a pair of pincers. Moreover, it was very sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4. There were hundreds of scorpions densely packed on the open space of the plaza. So many scorpions? Hasn't this beacon smoke ancient city been buried for countless years? How can there be so many of them? God knows. These scorpions seem to be very hostile towards us. It seems like we've invaded their territory. For animals, scorpions are very territorial. I never thought that there would be so many scorpions hidden under the beacon smoke ancient city. This is too strange. These scorpions are blocking our way. Are they trying to stop us from advancing? What do you think? If we don't get rid of these scorpions, do you think we can take another step forward? Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They were extremely cautious. Although they had the advantage in numbers, not every one of them was a top-notch expert. It would not be easy to deal with these scorpions. They hoped that their strength was not as abnormal as they had imagined. What should we do, Big Brother Jianghu? These scorpions seem to be aiming at us, they're coming towards us. Qin Lu said in a low voice, her face was stern. These scorpions were not easy to deal with. We'll deal with them when they come. Moreover, there are so many people blocking in front of us. Jiang Qin said without batting an eyelid. Where did these guys come from? Could it be that someone doesn't want us to enter? Could it be that the curse of the Greenon tribe is so strange? Qin Lu murmured. The Greenon tribe has probably been used as a tool. This Xianxia is not simple, and his goal is not that simple either. There must be some treasure here that attracted him here. As for these scorpions, they are just a roadblock. Let's see if we can get past them. The more dangerous a place is, the more mysterious it will be. Naturally, there's no need to talk about the treasure. Jiang Chen looked at Chen Lu and smiled. Chen Lu understood tacitly and stood in formation. Chi. These scorpions spat out some foam from the corners of their mouths as they surrounded them step by step. The scene was extremely tense. A huge battle was imminent. Get ready to fight. Once we kill these scorpions, we can reach the other side of the sacrificial ground. Qin waved his hand. All the members of the Green On tribe glared angrily as they prepared to fight to the death with these scorpions. Qin could naturally see that these scorpions weren't simple. In fact, they were terrifying. Using the trash of the Green On tribe to exhaust these scorpions was exactly what he wanted. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.